They say local dogs can't compare to pet dogs, that they're only fit to die as strays. To prove that the Chinese rural dog is the true king of canines, I jumped straight into a toilet. I was reborn as an all-black dog. When I opened my eyes again, I was right in front of a dog thief's van. The door was violently yanked open. Two men in dirty work clothes jumped out. They were holding long poles with wire snares on the end. The fur all over my body instantly stood on end. This is bad. They're professional dog thieves. Height C, block that side. This one looks meaty, probably 20 pounds of meat. Damn, I'm not some ingredient for you to slaughter. I turned and ran for my life. But the man called Height C didn't even chase me. He skillfully pulled out a slingshot. A steel ball whizzed past, grazing my scalp. The intense pain made me stumble. In that split second, the cold wire snare was already tightening around my neck. An intense feeling of suffocation washed over me. The tightness in my chest from when I died suddenly in my past life returned. Am I going to die again right after being reborn? He's surprisingly strong. A brutish-looking man with a fleshy face walked over. He raised his foot and kicked me viciously in the stomach. The excruciating pain made me curl into a ball. The man started dragging me towards the van by the snare. This pelt will make a good dogskin mat. The next second, I was thrown violently into a rusty iron cage. With a loud clang, the cage door was locked shut. The narrow space was crammed with other dogs. Some were on the verge of death, huddled and trembling in a corner. Others were like mad dogs, frantically biting the bars of the iron cage. The stench of utter despair instantly overwhelmed me. The van swayed and rumbled as it drove on. I huddled in the corner of the cage, licking the wound on my belly. It was painful, but the pain kept me wide awake. Being turned into dog meat hot pot right after being reborn. That would be the cruelest joke of all. The van bumped along a dirt road for 2 hours. I felt like my bones were about to fall apart. The back of the van was deathly still. The other dogs had resigned themselves to their fate. Only I kept staring intently at the cage's lock. It was a simple latch made of welded rebar, secured on the outside with just 2 loops of wire. A human could open it in less than 3 seconds. But for me, who only has paws, it was harder than climbing to the heavens. Just then, a soft whimper came from the cage next to mine. I turned to look and saw a bony yellow dog, curled up tightly to protect the puppies in her embrace. 3 newborn puppies, with their eyes barely open, were nuzzling her, trying to find milk. But the mother dog had no milk to give. Suddenly, the van door was pulled open with a clatter. Height C peered in, and his eyes immediately landed on the puppies. Hey, look, a few little pups. Perfect. We can make a suckling pup hot pot tonight to give Brother Gang a treat. As he spoke, he reached in to grab the puppies. The mother dog instantly bristled and threw herself against the cage as if possessed. She opened her mouth to bite him but was jabbed in the face with a stick. 2 of her teeth instantly flew out as blood poured from her mouth. You stupid mutt, Height C cursed as he slammed the stick onto the mother's back. The mother dog let out a pained, mournful cry, but she still desperately protected the puppies in her arms. She used her own body to block every blow, not dodging even once. Watching this, I felt like my heart was being squeezed in a vice. When Height C was done, he slammed the van door shut, and we started moving again. The mother dog licked the wound on her mouth, then lowered her head to gently groom her pups. A comforting whimper rumbled in her throat, as if she were saying, "Don't be afraid, Mama's here." I made a silent vow. If I can get out of here, I will come back and save them. I can't let them end up as someone's dinner. At that moment, the van screeched to a sudden halt. All the dogs in the van were thrown into a heap. The door was pulled open with a loud rattle. In front of us was an abandoned pig farm in a gully. The walls, over 2 meters high, were covered in broken glass. The ground in the yard was stained dark red with blood. A few burly men, cursing and swearing, started dragging the cages out. The iron cages screeched horribly as they were dragged across the ground. Woof, 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 let go of me. The mother dog in the next cage, protecting her pups, suddenly started barking wildly. She lunged at the bars, desperately trying to fight back. Height C's face darkened instantly as he grabbed an iron pipe as thick as his wrist. He violently thrust it into the cage. The mother dog collapsed instantly inside, but her paws were still tightly protecting the pups in her arms. The entire yard fell silent in an instant. All the dogs were so scared they didn't dare make a sound, not even a whimper. I immediately tucked my tail between my legs and buried my head low. My fur was perfectly smooth, and I pretended to be a coward who was scared out of his wits. Fighting back now is just asking for death. I have to play the coward and survive to have a chance to turn things around. To have a chance to avenge the mother dog. Haha, this black dog is pretty docile. Scared stupid. Height C glanced at me and casually tossed my cage into the corner. Save it for Gang J tonight to go with his drinks. The meat should be nice and tender. Tonight, the sun is still high in the sky. I have 4 or 5 hours at most. The cages are stacked, and I'm on the bottom layer. The bad news is that the dog urine from the upper cages could drip on me at any moment. The good news is that this is a blind spot for everyone. It's the perfect opportunity for me to save myself. Soon, the sound of a knife being sharpened echoed from the yard. And the sizzling sound of boiling water. The sounds made my scalp tingle and my fur stand on end. I have to save myself. I tried to use my paws to unlatch the bolt, but it was no use. My paws are too thick to fit through the gap. I then tried to reach it with my teeth, but the cage mesh was too small. My snout couldn't get through at all. Am I really going to become a pot of braised meat? Just as I was about to lose hope, I suddenly saw a rusted, broken wire at the bottom of the cage. The weld at the bottom was completely broken, and the sharp end was pointing inwards. It was perfect. I had an idea. I endured the sharp pain in my stomach and rammed my body against the broken part. Is that black dog having a seizure? The bald, strong man not far away looked over. I immediately stopped, lay on the floor with my tongue hanging out, pretending I was scared stupid and on the verge of death. Ha, scared stupid, huh? Don't worry about it, we're butchering it tonight anyway. The bald man laughed and turned back to drink with C. As soon as they looked away, I immediately started ramming again. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. My shoulder was aching from the impact, and my mouth was full of the taste of rust. Finally, I managed to bend the wire. A gap the width of a palm appeared at the bottom of the cage. It's not enough, I still can't get out. I need a stronger external force to pry the gap wider. An opportunity came quickly. C and the bald guy were sitting 3 meters away, drinking liquor with peanuts and braised dishes on the ground. Today's haul is good. That German shepherd will sell for a good price. And that black one looks tasty. The bald guy took a gulp of liquor, a smug look on his face. C pointed at me and nodded. That dog is indeed good. Stew tonight, it'll go great with drinks. By the way, Gang Jay said there are many wild boars on the mountain. He wants the 2 of us to find time to get a few. He's offering a high price. Of course, that farm protection team is watching closely. Let's go tonight, secretly. My ears perked up instantly. Poaching. These dog traffickers don't just steal and slaughter dogs. They're also in cahoots with a poaching gang in the mountains. The poaching gang the farm protection team has been looking for is actually these guys, but they don't know that my target isn't the key at all. It's the pair of pliers less than half a meter away from their feet. If I can get it, I can use leverage to pry open the wire mesh. Then I can escape, but how do I get it? Reaching my paw out directly will definitely get me caught. My eyes darted around and I looked at the poodle in the cage above. That frantic poodle was cowering in the corner, trembling. I suddenly stood up and let out a ferocious, wolf-like growl at it. The poodle's fur stood on end instantly, and it started crashing around and yelping in its cage. Its cries set off a chain reaction. All the dogs in the yard started barking along. The sound was deafening. Damn it, so noisy. C jumped to his feet, grabbed a bottle, and threw it at the upper cage. Now's my chance. The moment he stood up, his body blocked the bald guy's line of sight. I quickly shot out my paw and hooked the handle of the pliers with my claws. I dragged it into the cage little by little. With a crash, a liquor bottle smashed against the cage and shattered. Shards of glass mixed with piss and shit showered down on me, but I couldn't care about the filth or the stench. Gripping the pliers tightly, I finally dragged them into the cage. I immediately turned and used my body to block the view from outside. I bit down on one end of the pliers and jammed the other end into a break in the wire mesh. The principle of leverage. The longer the lever arm, the less force you need. The physics I learned in a past life became my lifesaver in this one. I used all my strength and pushed down hard. Creak. With a soft snap, a large hole was pried open in the wire mesh at the bottom of the cage. My mouth was full of the taste of rust and blood, and my teeth felt like they were about to break. But I did it. Still, I didn't rush to get out. It wasn't dark yet, and the men in the yard were all awake. Going out now would be walking right into a trap. I had to wait until it got a little darker, wait for them to get more drunk, and wait for the perfect opportunity. The sun slowly sank in the west, dyeing half the sky red. The burly men in the yard were already flushed from drinking. They were starting to slur their words and couldn't even stand steadily. C staggered to his feet and walked over to the corner near me. He unzipped his pants to take a piss, while the bald guy was already passed out on the table, snoring like thunder. This was my chance. I held my breath and, like an eel, squeezed out of the large hole in the cage. A sharp wire scraped across my left ear, cutting a deep gash. Blood immediately gushed out and dripped onto the ground. I didn't make a sound. I couldn't even feel the pain. I didn't run for the main gate. It was guarded by men and a large wolfhound. Running that way would be suicide. My target was C, who was taking a piss. The keys to the back gate were hanging from his waist. The back gate was a small iron door for taking out the trash, and it only had one lock. If I could just open it, I could escape. I silently snuck up behind him, my paws making no sound on the ground. I didn't make even the slightest noise. Then, I suddenly leapt up and bit down on the keychain on his waist. With a vicious shake of my head, I yanked with all my might. Ow, what the hell? C jumped in fright, pissing all over his pants. The liquor bottle fell to the ground with a clatter. The moment I landed, I snatched the keychain in my mouth and bolted like mad for the back gate. Hey, the dog's running away, get it, C shouted, snapping out of it and flying into a panicked rage. He grabbed an iron pipe from the ground and started chasing me. I rushed to the back gate and threw the keychain on the ground. I pawed at them frantically, trying to find the right key for the lock. But there were 7 or 8 keys on the ring. Which one was it? The sound of heavy footsteps behind me grew closer and closer. The bald guy was woken up by the noise, grabbed a cleaver, and came after me. Wake up, that black dog got away. Get it, quick, I'm gonna skin it alive. I was frantic. I just grabbed the smallest key I could and tried to jam it into the lock. That's not it. I'll try another one. Still not the one. Clang. The iron pipe slammed hard into the wall right next to me. Shards of stone flew into my face, nearly hitting my head. Die, C roared, lunging at me with bloodshot eyes. In the nick of time, I gave up on unlocking the gate. I'd noticed a plate at the bottom of the iron door that was rusted all the way through. It looked really thin. If I couldn't unlock the door, I would just have to smash my way through it. I took a couple of quick steps back and then, with every ounce of strength I had, I slammed myself hard against that iron plate. Thump, with a loud crash, the impact made my head spin and my vision go dark. The pain in my chest felt like an explosion, but I had knocked open a corner of the iron plate, making a gap big enough for my body. Just then, however, Heizi's huge hand grabbed a hold of my tail in a death grip. Get back here. A sharp pain shot up from my tail, feeling like it was about to be torn right off. I whipped my head around and sank my teeth hard into Heizi's wrist. My fangs pierced his skin and dug deep into his flesh. Heizi let out a piercing shriek and immediately let go of me. I seized the opportunity, shoved my head through the gap, and desperately squeezed myself out. Iron wires and sheet metal tore open my back and stomach. The pain of my flesh splitting made me tremble all over, but I didn't dare to stop. The next second, my whole body was thrown out, landing on the grass outside the door. Beyond the door was a boundless wilderness of overgrown grass. In the distance were endless deep mountains. Get him, get the gun, I'm gonna kill this thing today. Behind me came Heizi's furious roar, followed by the crisp sound of a gunbolt being pulled. Without looking back, I ran like mad towards the deep mountains. The wind whistled past my ears, and my lungs felt like broken bellows. Every breath was a piercing pain. But I didn't dare stop. I knew stopping meant certain death. That night, I ran a full 30 li. It wasn't until dawn was about to break that I couldn't run anymore. I plunged headfirst into a hidden cave and collapsed on the ground. I huddled in a corner of the cave, shivering from the cold. My stomach was so empty that stomach acid churned and it kept spasming. The wounds on my body stung like fire. The blood on my left ear had already clotted, matting the fur. Any movement sent a piercing pain through me. Just then, a fat, large rat strolled in through the cave entrance, completely ignoring me. In my past life, I would have screamed and jumped away at the sight of a rat. I wouldn't have even dared to step on it. But now, looking at that rat, I couldn't stop my mouth from watering. That was meat. It was the hope of survival. Instinctively, I lowered my body, my front paws gripping the ground tightly. Every muscle in my body tensed up. The reason in my mind was screaming frantically, "He Chang, you are a human, you can't eat a rat." But my body's instincts hissed back, "Do it, quickly, or you'll starve to death here." The moment the rat stopped to look around, I shot out like an arrow from a bow. The warm, metallic taste of blood instantly filled my mouth. I gagged and almost threw up, but that was followed by an intense feeling of fullness. I devoured the meat ravenously, but tears streamed down my face. At that moment, the man named He Chang, who loved cleanliness and cared about his dignity. The civilized man who didn't even dare to kill a fish, was completely dead. What survived was a nameless, stray dog that would do anything to live. I licked the blood from my paws, my eyes as cold as the night. I had passed the first test. Now, I had to survive in these woods like a real dog. But reality was far crueler than I had imagined. On the third day after fleeing into the deep mountains, the wound on my left ear became infected and started to fester. My entire left ear was rotting like a piece of red-hot branding iron. The pain was excruciating. It even caused half of my face to swell up. What was worse, I had a fever. I felt like a walking piece of hot charcoal. Even my breath was frighteningly hot. My vision kept going black, and I was constantly hallucinating. One moment, it was an iced coffee from the company's reception. The next, it was the braised pork my mom used to make for me. Then it was the desperate eyes of the mother dog before she died, and my parents, wailing over my coffin. A thunderous growl from my stomach pulled me back to reality. The energy from that rat was long gone. I tried to hunt, but I had overestimated myself and underestimated the wild rabbits and pheasants in the mountains. They were much smarter than I thought. I lay in wait for half a day, only to end up with a mouthful of rabbit fur. Just as I was lying on the ground, about to give up, a faint rustling sound reached me. I snapped my head up and saw a rat snake as thick as an arm, flicking its tongue as it slowly slithered towards me. Its eyes glinted with a cold light. All the fur on my body stood on end in an instant, and my body tensed up. In my past life, the thing I feared most was snakes. I would always walk the long way around to avoid them. But now, I either had to fight it to the death, or just wait to be bitten. And die in this forsaken cave. The snake lunged at me, its fangs flashing with a cold glint. Acting on instinct, I jerked my body aside to dodge it, then bit down hard on the snake's vital spot. This was something I saw on Animal World in my past life. Striking a snake at its 7-inch mark, that's where its heart is, its weak point. The snake frantically coiled around my body, squeezing tighter and tighter. I felt like my ribs were about to be crushed. But I clamped down hard on its weak spot and refused to let go, even as its scales cut my mouth. Even as I was about to suffocate. I don't know how much time passed, but the snake's body gradually went limp. It stopped struggling. I let go and collapsed on the ground, gasping for air. I was soaked in sweat. I had won. I had survived all by myself. But so what if I won? I still couldn't last much longer. If I stayed in these mountains, I'd either starve to death or die from my infected wounds, eventually becoming dung for some wild beast. Down the mountain, there were dog snatchers, animal control catching strays, and people who looked down on mutts. But down the mountain, there were also antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, cephalexin capsules, and leftovers in the trash cans that could fill my stomach. As a reincarnated dog with some dignity, I once set a rule for myself: never dig through trash cans. But when you're so hungry your stomach is churning with acid and you can barely stand, you learn that bottom lines can be flexible. At noon, I was dragging my leaden feet, inching my way down the mountain, when a scent drifted on the wind that made my whole body tense up. The smell of blood, sweat, the excited hormones of a dog pack, and the gamey stench of a wild boar. Woof, woof, woof. Low growls and ferocious barks came from over the mountain hollow. That wasn't the aimless yapping of pet dogs. It was the sound of hunting hounds that had seen real blood and been on the hunt. That's the only kind of sound they'd make. Enduring the intense pain, I crept over quietly and lay down on a weedy slope. Looking down, my heart skipped a beat. Below the weedy slope were 4 hounds wearing orange tactical vests. They were surrounding a black wild boar of over 100 pounds. The boar wasn't huge, but it was a real hothead with a nasty temper. Its eyes were bloodshot, and its tusks glinted coldly. A man in camouflage work clothes stood not far away, holding a hunting knife in his hand, commanding in a low voice, "Pin its head. Chinky, circle around to its flank. Don't take it head on." Beside him was an old man carrying a medical kit. His face tense as he watched the scene. The Farm Protection Squad. My heart leapt. This was a legal, civilian farm protection group. They specialized in dealing with wild animals that came down from the mountains to destroy crops and hurt villagers. In this world, they were the official army of the dog world. If I could get in with them, not only could my wounds be treated, but I'd also have a place to belong. No more wandering, no more fearing dog snatchers. More importantly, I could use the Farm Protection Squad's power to take down that dog slaughterhouse, avenge the mother dog, and rescue those little puppies. Just as my mind was racing, the situation on the field took a sudden turn. The cornered boar, instead of trying to flee, used the terrain to whip around for a counterattack. Its sharp tusks slashed viciously at the hound named Chinky. Chinky couldn't dodge in time and its front leg was gashed by the tusk. It let out a painful yelp and scrambled backward. A huge gap instantly opened in the encirclement. The boar was incredibly smart. It seized the chance and dug in its hooves. It charged like a madman toward the gap, and its direction was right for the cornfield on the path down the mountain. Once it got in there, catching it would be next to impossible. And what was worse, on the path bordering the cornfield, a little girl, about 5 or 6 years old with a small basket on her back, was squatting down picking up firewood. She was completely unaware of the charging boar. "Niu, run!" the man in camouflage roared, his eyes wide with terror. But 2 legs are no match for a 4-legged boar. The other hounds were also a step behind and couldn't block it. The boar was about to charge into the cornfield and crash right into the little girl, who was frozen to the spot, wailing in terror. This was my chance to prove myself. I stared hard at the boar, my mind racing with calculations. It was running in a straight line with tremendous momentum, making it difficult to turn. And on its path, there was a protruding rock. This was it. I summoned every last ounce of strength in my body. I shot down from the weedy slope like a black cannonball. I wasn't stupid enough to go for its neck. Its hide was too tough, my teeth would never get through. My target was its front leg joint. The moment it rushed past the rock, I ferociously slammed into its left front leg. Using the powerful momentum of my descent, I twisted my body hard and locked my jaws with all my might. There was a faint crack. The wild boar's front left leg instantly gave out, and it lost its balance, tumbling violently away like a bowling ball. It landed belly up on the ground, squealing horribly. Once my attack landed, I immediately released my bite and jumped aside. I didn't linger for a second longer. It's the kind of strategic positioning you develop from over a decade of gaming in a past life. Saving a life today also became my ticket in. Holy crap, where did this dog come from? The man in camouflage was stunned, but he reacted in a flash. While the boar was still down, he rushed forward, plunging the hunting knife in his hand precisely into its heart. Squelch. The boar twitched a few times and then went completely still. Only then did the other hunting dogs, who had arrived late, surround the boar's body, barking wildly at it. Meanwhile, I had already retreated to a large rock 10 meters away, where I sat up straight. I pressed down on my trembling, injured leg, straightened my back, and watched the man calmly. My body was covered in wounds and I was a mess, but my gaze was steady. I was taking a gamble, betting that he was an expert, betting that he could see my worth. The little girl's mother ran over frantically, hugging her daughter and trembling as she cried. She thanked the man profusely. The little girl peeked out from her mother's arms to look at me. In her big eyes, there was no fear, only gratitude. She took a piece of milk candy from her pocket and unwrapped it. She cautiously approached me and placed the candy on the rock. "Thank you, doggy." The little girl's voice was as soft as cotton candy. I looked at her and gave a gentle wag of my tail. I didn't touch the candy. The man wiped the blood off his knife and sheathed it. His gaze landed on me. "Brother you, that thing almost charged right through. It's all thanks to this black dog. If it wasn't for him, Niu would have been in real danger today." The old man with the first aid kit hurried over, looking at me with surprise. "Yikes, he's hurt pretty bad. His ear is all mangled. He's got a lot of scratches on his body, too. Poor thing's been through a lot." The man they called Brother Yu slowly approached me. He squatted down about 3 meters away, making himself level with my eyes. It's a gesture of goodwill among canines. There was no intimidating pressure from him looming over me. A pure black, prick-eared Wuhei dog. He's a good prospect. He stared into my eyes, his voice low. "That pounce just now. Its timing was more precise than a special forces soldier's." I looked back at him and gave a slight wag of my tail, a small gesture, friendly but not fawning. In my head, I was saying, "Give me food, treat my wounds, and I'll be yours. I'll help you hunt boars, I'll help you take down poaching gangs." As if he understood, Brother Yu took a sausage from his pocket, unwrapped it, placed it on the ground, and gently pushed it toward me. I didn't pounce on it right away. Instead, I slowly approached and sniffed the back of his hand first, committing his scent to memory. Only then did I gently pick up the sausage and wolf it down in a couple of bites. It was delicious. It was the first piece of human food I'd eaten since my reincarnation. Not scraps from a garbage can, not raw rat meat, not the bloody meat of a snake, with an ear that mangled, and he still acts like this. This dog is no ordinary animal. The old man squatted down and inspected my wounds carefully. This has to be treated. If it gets infected, he'll lose the ear. He might not even survive. Brother Yu reached out, intending to stroke my head. I hesitated for a split second, but ultimately, I lowered my head. I let his rough palm rest on my head. His hand was coarse and calloused, but it was warm and steady. Okay, you're coming with me. Brother Yu smiled, and his voice carried a reassuring weight. I've never in my life seen a stray with so much grit and intelligence. From now on, if I've got meat, you'll have broth. The weight I'd been carrying in my heart for days finally lifted. I got up, followed him, and joined the pack of hunting dogs. Chinky, the dog whose leg had been gored by the boar, looked at me with hostility and bared his teeth. I paid him no mind. From now on, we were colleagues. Getting along was important, but that's only possible if you're strong enough to earn their respect. The setting sun stretched our shadows out long behind us. I looked at my own mangled shadow on the ground, knowing that my wretched life was safe, at least for now. And my quest for revenge finally had a beginning. The farm protection team's base was in an abandoned elementary school at the edge of the city. As I walked through the main gate, the smell of disinfectant, the aroma of dog food and chicken fat, and the scent of men's sweat all mixed together, washing over me. The original playground was converted into a training ground, with balance beams, springboards, weaving poles, and various obstacle facilities. It looked very professional. Lao Wu treated my wound first. Yu Jie picked me up and walked straight into the infirmary. I was placed on the cold, stainless steel operating table. I'm a little afraid of heights, but I forced myself not to move and just lay there obediently. The wound was ripped open by wire and was badly festered. The rotten flesh had to be cut away before the wound could be debrided and stitched up. I also had many scratches all over my body that had to be treated, or they would all get infected. Lao Wu put on his gloves, picked up the surgical scissors and said to Yu Jie, hold him steady. This isn't a pain an ordinary dog can handle. If this goes wrong, he might get desperate and bite. He won't. Yu Jie's large hands gently pressed down on my neck and back. The pressure was firm, not enough to hurt me, but enough to keep me from thrashing around. He looked down at me with a very serious gaze. Endure it. If you want to live and work with me, don't move. I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. Bring it on. In my past life, I endured the mental anguish of revising proposals until dawn, getting chewed out by clients, and being made a scapegoat by my boss. What's a little physical pain compared to that? The moment the scissors cut into my flesh. Excruciating pain, like a red-hot needle, stabbed directly into my brain. Every muscle in my body tensed up instantly, and I trembled all over. My claws dug tightly into the stainless steel tabletop, scratching several marks into it, but I bit down hard on the bite block Lao Wu had given me. He's really tough. Lao Wu paused and looked at me in surprise. An ordinary dog would have peed from the pain by now, scratching and biting. This one didn't even whimper. He's a real tough character. Tougher than any police dog I've ever seen. I told you he was something else. Yu Jie's voice held a hint of unconcealable admiration and a trace of sympathy. After cutting away the rotten flesh and debriding the wound, it was time for stitches. The anesthetic wasn't very effective. I could feel the needle passing through my skin and flesh. The sensation transmitted clearly to my brain. I stared at the mold spots on the ceiling, thinking about the three most painful things in my past life. Waking up early for work, going to bed early to wake up for work, my parents' red, crying eyes, and the look in the mother dog's eyes before she died. Compared to all that, this pain really was nothing. As the last stitch was made and the thread was cut, Lao Wu let out a sigh of relief. All done. He sprayed some blue medicine on my ear. He also disinfected and applied medicine to the other wounds on my body. Finally, he put a huge white plastic cone around my neck. An Elizabethan collar. I shook my head, looking at this giant lampshade at the edge of my vision. A wave of despair washed over me. This look is so humiliating. Come on, time for a bath, Yu Jie said with a laugh, patting my behind. You stink like you've just been pulled out of a cesspool. If we don't wash you, you're going to start growing maggots. At the wash basin in the backyard, when the warm water poured over my body, I almost cried with emotion. Since being reborn, this was my first hot bath, the first time I'd been this clean. Yu Jie scrubbed me with sulfur soap. His technique was rough, but he washed me thoroughly. The foam carried away the dirt, grime, and blood, as well as the foul, fishy smell. He washed me meticulously, even scrubbing the mud from between my paw pads. Afraid that missing even a speck of dirt would cause the wound to get infected. He's a male, big frame, a bit skinny, but he has a broad chest. His lung capacity must be good. He's got the makings of a great mountain runner. We just need to let these wounds heal properly. Yu Jie appraised my body, making comments as he scrubbed. Being scrubbed in my private areas by a grown man. As someone with a human soul, my sense of shame instantly exploded. I could only stare intently at a snail in the corner of the wall, pretending I was an emotionless piece of wood. Soon, the bath was over, and Yu Jie dried me with a hairdryer. I looked at my reflection in the mirror, completely transformed. Although I had a silly Elizabethan collar on my head, my ear was wrapped in gauze, and the fur all over my body hadn't fully grown back yet, my spirited energy was undeniable. Is this what it's like to be an officially recognized dog? My whole demeanor is different now. Dinner time arrived. Lao Wu brought over a giant stainless steel bowl and placed it in front of me. It wasn't the hard, dry kibble I had imagined, but a steaming, specially made dog meal. It was cornmeal mixed with chicken bone broth, with diced carrots and a few thick, oily slices of pork liver. There was even a whole egg on top. Eat up, newcomer. We added an egg especially for you to help you recover. In my past life, I was a picky eater who lived on takeout. Fried chicken is too greasy, salad is too bland, but right now my dog nose is telling me that this bowl of food is the ultimate delicacy. I bury my head in the bowl, gobbling it down in big mouthfuls. The crispiness of the chicken bones, the richness of the pork liver, the sweetness of the cornmeal, and the smoothness of the egg all intertwined in my mouth. It smells amazing. Rule may be late, but it always arrives. Not a single dog can refuse a steaming hot bowl of rice mixed with chicken scraps. This dog doesn't have a name yet. Old Wu said to Brother Yu as he watched me wolf down my food, we can't just call him Big Black or Blackie, that's too tacky. That's what those dog snatchers use. Brother Yu shook his head, and as he watched me eat, his eyes lit up. He came in like a gust of wind, and he runs really fast. Plus, his whole body is black as charcoal. Brother Yu made the final decision, let's call him Black Wind. Like Black Whirlwind Li Kui. That, Black Wind. It's fierce and domineering enough to match his tough spirit. Black Wind. I mulled it over. It was a bit cringy. But with its martial arts flavor, it was much better than Lucky or Charcoal. I lifted my head from the bowl and barked once at Brother Yu. That was my way of accepting the name. It was settled. From now on, I'm Black Wind. After that, I went right back to burying my head in my food. Once I was full, it was time for my induction. A rite of passage for every new dog, establishing dominance in the kennel. Brother Yu led me to the kennel in the backyard. The neat rows of iron cages were all single rooms. The conditions were 10,000 times better than the slaughterhouse I was in before. It was just in time for recess, and 7 or 8 hounds were wandering the yard. When they saw Brother Yu leading me, this new face wearing a big cone, all eyes instantly focused on me. The most eye-catching was a white Dogo Argentino. He was built like a small bull, with lumps of muscle all over his body. His face was covered in scars, a clear sign of a tough character who had seen real combat and fought hard battles. His name was Tank. I'd heard Brother Yu call his name on the mountain. He was the alpha dog of this hunting pack, the big boss. Tank slowly ambled over, looking down on me. A low growl rumbled in his throat. It was both a warning and a show of force. The other dogs stopped in their tracks and gathered around, waiting to watch the show. Every new dog has to be put in their place by the alpha. That's the law of the dog world. It can't be changed. Brother Yu stood to the side with his arms crossed, showing no intention of interfering. Dogs have their own rules. Human meddling only makes things worse. Tank moved closer, his nose heading for my rear end, about to sniff my scent. This is how dogs confirm status. The strong sniffs the weak, and the weak must endure it obediently, without resistance. But I couldn't stand it. In my past life, He Chang, had to swallow my pride at the office. My boss stole my credit, clients pushed me around, and in this life as a dog, I have to let another dog sniff my butt? What kind of self-respecting person sniffs butts when they first meet? The very instant Tank's nose was about to touch me, I didn't retreat or tuck my tail in submission. Instead, I spun around violently, using the Elizabethan collar on my neck as a weapon, and slammed it viciously into his chin. With a dull thud, the plastic cone struck flesh. The impact made my own neck go numb. Tank was completely frozen. He never expected that a new, injured, sickly-looking dog like me would dare to fight back, let alone with such a bizarre move. He was instantly enraged and opened his mouth to bite me. Sit. I had suddenly opened my mouth and let out a short, powerful bark, perfectly imitating Brother Yu's dog training tone. Tank was startled by the command. His conditioned reflex instantly overpowered his rage. His hindquarters involuntarily sank, and he almost actually sat down. The entire yard fell silent in an instant. All the dogs were dumbfounded, they even stopped breathing. I was also stunned for a moment. I hadn't expected this bluff to actually work. While Tank was still dazed, I swaggered over to the big tree, lifted my hind leg, and took a leak. I even made a point of standing on my tiptoes, so my pee mark was a full 2 centimeters higher than the one Tank left earlier. In the dog world, peeing higher makes you the boss. I put my leg down and shot Tank a contemptuous glance. Then I turned, walked back to Brother Yu's feet, sat down obediently, panted with my tongue out, and gave him my signature goofy smile. Brother Yu, who had witnessed the whole thing, felt his lips twitch. Then he suddenly burst out laughing so hard that tears streamed down his face. Old Wu, did you see that? Was that little guy just pulling rank and copying what I said? And that piss. Damn, that's got some ambition. This dog's turning into a spirit. Old Wu laughed too, shaking his head and saying, looks like Tank has finally met his match this time. I think it's not certain who's going to be in charge of this base from now on. Tank stood there, looking at his pee mark that had been covered. Then he looked at me, sitting smugly at Brother Yu's feet, his face full of doubt about his dog life. That night, I moved into my own private room. An old military greatcoat was spread on the wooden plank bed, soft and fluffy. It was 10,000 times more comfortable than the rocky ground in the cave. I lay on it, listening to the chorus of snores rising and falling from the surrounding kennels. I couldn't help but start imagining the future. Even though I'd become a dog, this life as an official member seemed much more interesting than my past life as a corporate drone. There were no KPIs here, no endless proposals to revise, no colleagues passing the buck, and no difficult clients. Here, there was only the most direct strength and weakness, the purest trust. and partners you'd die for. But I also knew this stability was temporary. Now that I joined the farm protection team, what awaited me wasn't leftovers in a trash can, but the truly bloodthirsty beasts in the mountains. And those lawless poachers, as well as my mortal enemies in this life. That gang of dog-napping, dog-butchering traffickers. I had to get stronger as fast as possible, strong enough to protect myself, to protect Brother Yu, to protect everything I wanted to protect. At that moment, the passion that had been dormant in my body for so long began to burn hot again, for the first time in ages. Good night, Black Wind. Tomorrow is a new day. They say a serious injury takes 100 days to heal, but that's for humans. For someone like me, eating Old Wu's special all-nourishing dog food and training every day, the recovery speed was like I had a cheat code. Half a month later, with a snip, Old Wu cut off the Elizabethan collar around my neck. The whole world instantly became wider. I shook my head, a small piece of my left ear was missing. Old Wu said this was a scarred face to ward off disaster, and that it made me look fiercer and more intimidating. The wounds on my body had also healed, leaving a few faint scars that became my medals of honor. Black Wind, starting today, you're joining the morning drills too, Brother Yu said to me as he tied his shoelaces. Morning drills were an unbreakable rule for the farm protection team. Every morning, we'd wake up at 5 o'clock sharp. We'd run for 5 kilometers on the road at the foot of the mountain. For the first kilometer, I could keep up with the main group out of sheer novelty. But after that, I couldn't. The one leading the pack was always Tank, the Dogo Argentino. He was like a tireless perpetual motion machine. Right behind him was Chinky, whose leg had just healed, and two small, extremely fast Taikang hounds. And then there was me, a dog just recovered from a serious illness, who in my past life sat at a desk all day. A corporate drone who barely even walked, let alone ran. Unsurprisingly, I fell to the back of the pack. My lungs felt like they were about to explode. Every breath was like swallowing a knife. Tank glanced back at me, and in his eyes, there was 30% mockery, 30% coldness, and 40% indifference. He even deliberately slowed down. Just as I panted and wheezed my way up to him, he suddenly sped up, and the sand kicked up by his hind legs sprayed right in my face. Hey, I spat out the sand in my mouth, and the fire in my heart flared up instantly. We've got some serious beef now. From that day on, I started putting in extra training for myself. Every morning at 4 o'clock, before the sky was even light, I would sneak out and run laps around the training ground. If others ran 5 kilometers, I ran 10. I used the fitness knowledge I'd learned online in my past life. I adjusted my breathing rhythm and used my core for power, instead of just running foolishly on all 4 legs. After running, I would practice the obstacle course, practice pouncing and biting, practice my positioning, and practice my reflexes. The predictive skills and reaction speed I developed from playing video games in my past life were now all applied to my training. Brother Yu and Old Wu often stood by the edge of the training ground, watching me train with surprised looks on their faces. This dog is truly reckless. He gets up to train every day before dawn. He's working harder than a new recruit in boot camp, Old Wu couldn't help but remark, smoking his cigarette. He's got something on his mind, a driving force, Brother Yu said, his gaze deep as he looked at my back. This dog is not simple. He's not just living for a bite of food. He has a goal. They didn't know about this drive I was holding onto. It was to avenge that poor mother dog who died so tragically, and to save those little lives still in the slaughterhouse. It was to prevent the regrets of my past life from happening again. In less than a month, my physical fitness had undergone a world-shattering change. During another 5-kilometer morning run, I ran shoulder to shoulder with Tank from the very beginning, never once falling behind. In the last kilometer, I suddenly accelerated, leaving Tank behind and was the first to cross the finish line. I stood at the finish line, my tongue hanging out, watching Tank run over, panting. I gave a little wag of my tail. How about that? Impressed or not? Tank looked at me, the mockery in his eyes gone. In its place was a hint of respect. The obstacle course on the training ground was my true domain. The single plank bridge, the weaving poles, the springboard, the high jump. Obstacles that would take a normal dog a long time to train for. I used the positioning and predictive skills I had honed from playing video games in my past life to complete them with ease. The first time I ran the full obstacle course, I only took 47 seconds, a full 10 seconds faster than the Basie's record. Brother Yu stared at the stopwatch, his eyes wide, speechless for a long time. Old Wu kept muttering beside him. He's become a spirit. This dog has really become a spirit. In bite training, I showed even more astonishing talent. I could always pinpoint the target's weak spot and take them down in one strike. I never prolonged the fight, never wasted a move. Brother Yu wore a protective suit and acted as my training target. I bit down on his arm, locking my jaw tight. No matter how he tried to shake me, he couldn't get me off. The moment he yelled, "Stop," I would immediately let go and sit obediently in front of him, never hurting him in the slightest. Good dog. Way to go, Hefeng. Brother Yu took off his helmet, petting my head with a huge, happy smile, his eyes filled with pride. I became the undisputed core fighting force of the farm protection team. Even Chinky, who had been hostile toward me before, had now become my little shadow. Wherever I went, he followed, his eyes full of admiration. And while Tank never said anything, his actions showed he had completely accepted me. During training, he would take the initiative to coordinate with me. When we went into the mountains, he would charge forward alongside me. We became the best of partners. The days passed one by one. My life with the farm protection team was fulfilling and peaceful. Brother Yu was genuinely good to me. He'd buy me the best jerky and toys with little ducks on them. He'd wipe my paws after training and stay by my kennel when I was sick. He would stay up all night. For the first time, I felt what a home was. What it felt like to be cherished by someone. But I would always dream about my past life at night. I dreamed I died suddenly at my desk, the computer screen still showing the 18th version of a proposal I hadn't finished. I dreamed of my funeral, my parents draped over my coffin, crying their hearts out. My mom called my name over and over. She was saying, "Chang Chang, come home." I wanted to hug them but could only pass right through their bodies. There was nothing I could do. I dreamed of Director Zhang taking credit for my proposal in a meeting. He claimed it was the result of his team pulling all-nighters. I dreamed of my ex-girlfriend on the arm of my immediate supervisor. Walking into the house I had saved for 5 years just to make the down payment on. Every time I woke from these dreams, I'd be covered in sweat, the corners of my eyes wet. And every time I woke up, I would find that Brother Yu had somehow appeared at the door of my kennel. He would have covered me with a blanket and added a few pieces of meat to my bowl. He never said anything, but I knew he understood. He was a veteran. He had seen life and death. He understood that kind of helpless regret. He understood the pain of wanting to protect something but being unable to. In my past life, I lived for 28 years. No one had ever cared for me so quietly, or trusted me so unconditionally. Even though I'm just a dog now, I secretly swore to myself that in this life, I would definitely protect Brother Yu. I would protect this man who gave me a new life and a home. If anyone dares to touch him, I'll tear out their throat. One day, while patrolling the mountains with Brother Yu and the others, we made an unexpected discovery. We found several snares set by poachers in the mountains, and the carcass of a roe deer, eaten down to the bone. Next to it were a few cigarette butts and beer bottles. I went closer to sniff it, and all the fur on my body stood on end in an instant. That smell, it was the smell of Haiti and Wangtu. It was the smell from that dog slaughterhouse. I barked frantically at Brother Yu, tugging on his pant leg and pulling him towards the mountain gully. Brother Yu immediately understood what I meant. His expression darkened as he said to Old Wu, grab your gear. Black Wind found a lead. I led them through the mountains for nearly 2 hours until finally, in the distance, we saw the abandoned pig farm. The very slaughterhouse where I'd nearly lost my life. From the yard, I could hear the whimpering of dogs and the sound of knives being sharpened. Brother Yu lay on the overgrown slope, took out his binoculars, and after a single glance, clenched his fist tightly. Damn it, I knew it was these sons of bitches. They're not just poachers, they're stealing and slaughtering dogs, Brother Yu said to Old Wu through gritted teeth. Old Wu, call the police. Send our location to the forest public security and the local police station. Tell them to hurry. These guys have weapons, so we can't just charge in. Old Wu immediately took out his phone to call the police. I lay beside Brother Yu, staring intently at the bald man and the man with the dark skin in the yard. My eyes were so red they felt like they could bleed. It was them. They were the ones who killed that mother dog as she protected her pups. They were the ones who almost turned me into hot pot. They were the ones who had harmed countless innocent dogs. I wanted nothing more than to charge down there and tear out their throats. But I knew I couldn't be reckless. I couldn't cause trouble for Brother Yu or put him in danger. We waited for more than half an hour before police sirens echoed from a distance. The flashing red and blue lights illuminated the entire gully. The police charged in and arrested all of the dog traders in the yard. I rushed into the yard with Brother Yu. Inside the cages were a dozen or so dogs, still alive. They were all skin and bones, covered in wounds, their eyes filled with despair. In the innermost cage, I saw the 3 surviving little puppies. They were huddled in a corner, shivering. Their mother was already gone. I walked over and gently licked their small heads through the cage. Don't be afraid, I'm here to save you. Your mother didn't die in vain. The police have shut down this slaughterhouse. They confiscated their poaching tools and homemade guns, and rescued all the dogs. Those 3 little puppies were adopted by a kind grandma from the village and finally had a safe home. On the way back, Brother Yu stroked my head, his voice heavy. Good boy, Black Wind. You did a great thing. I looked at him and gently nudged his hand with my head. We got our revenge, and those innocent lives were saved. But I knew this wasn't the end. There were more dangers in the mountains, more poachers, and that terrifying wild boar king that everyone feared. My journey was far from over. The peaceful days were always fleeting. A car tore into the base like a madman, its tires screeching against the ground. The car door was yanked open and a farmer, his face full of worry and his pants covered in mud, stumbled out and grabbed Brother Yu's hand. His voice was already breaking into a sob. Captain Zhang, help me, those wild boars are back again. Last night, they tore up my 2 acres of corn, destroyed my pig pen, and even injured my old man. They're definitely coming back tonight. The leader is that wild boar king that weighs over 300 jin. If this keeps up, my entire year's harvest will be ruined. Hearing this, Brother Yu's expression immediately darkened. Every hair on my body stood on end. The wild boar king. I'd heard Old Wu talk about this wild boar king. It had been rampaging through the mountains for years. It weighed over 300 jin, its hide was thick as leather, and a rifle bullet wasn't even guaranteed to pierce it. It often leads a herd of boars down the mountain to destroy crops and injure villagers. The farm protection squad has clashed with it a few times, but it always managed to escape. It's injured several hunting dogs, and once it even came close to hurting Brother Yu. That deepest scar on Chinky's leg? It was from this very wild boar king. Old Wu, get the equipment, Brother Yu shouted over his shoulder, then looked towards us. His gaze swept over Tank, Chinky, and me, his voice firm and powerful. Black Wind, Tank, Chinky, get in the car, we're on a mission. I shot to my feet, every muscle tensed, my ears standing straight up. It's time, my battlefield has arrived. I was the first one to the truck door, and I leapt up, landing steadily in the back. Lao Wu loaded the gear onto the truck, a hunting knife, a tranquilizer gun, a first aid kit, and our tactical vests. Everything was there. Brother Yu jumped into the driver's seat, started the truck, and floored the gas pedal. The truck shot forward like an arrow. As the truck sped down the dirt road, I leaned against the window, watching the scenery fly by, my nose constantly sniffing the scents in the wind. The foul smell of wild boar was in the wind, growing stronger and thicker. But besides that, there was another scent I would never forget. That scent, a mix of blood, tobacco, and alcohol, was Brother Gang's. The mastermind behind that dog slaughterhouse, and the boss of Haiti and Baldi. He was also the leader of the poaching gang. There was also a strong smell of gunpowder, the scent of homemade guns and dynamite. All the fur on my body instantly stood on end, and a low, vicious growl rumbled in my throat. Brother Yu glanced at me in the rearview mirror and frowned. Black Wind, what's wrong? Did you find something? I barked frantically out the window, my eyes so red they looked like they were about to bleed. I knew that on this trip into the mountains, we were facing more than just the herd of wild boars destroying crops. There was also that ruthless poaching ringleader, Brother Gang, and his band of outlaws. And on top of that, there was the king boar that weighed over 300 pounds, which had injured countless hunting dogs and even killed people. The truck made a sharp turn and plunged into the pitch-black mountains. The tires rumbled over the uneven dirt road, making the truck shake violently. In the back, we were thrown from side to side, but I clung tightly to the window, my nose twitching non-stop. I was catching every scent on the wind. The foul smell of the boar herd was mixed with the scent of cornstalks. They were hiding deep in the cornfield 100 meters ahead. There were at least 7 or 8 adult wild boars. The king boar leading them had a heavy, violent aura. Even from this distance, I could feel its terrifying ferocity. But what really made my fur stand on end was Brother Gang's scent, a mix of cheap tobacco, blood, and liquor. He was lying in ambush in the hollow beside the cornfield, with at least 7 armed outlaws with him. The smell of gunpowder from the homemade guns was so thick it was choking. A low, warning growl rumbled in my throat. I nudged Brother Yu's arm hard with my head, first barking furiously twice toward the cornfield. Then I turned toward the hollow and let out a fierce, urgent low growl. Brother Yu understood me instantly, his grip on the steering wheel tightening. He slammed on the brakes, and the truck came to a steady stop on the ridge outside the cornfield. The tires screeched as they ground against the gravel. Damn it, these bastards set a trap for us. Brother Yu gritted his teeth and reached into the passenger side glove compartment. He pulled out the tranquilizer gun and loaded it skillfully. Then he handed Lao Wu in the passenger seat a sharp, polished short blade. His tone was as hard as iron. Lao Wu, you stay in the truck. Immediately call the forest police and the local precinct for backup. Send them our precise location. Tell them we found an armed poaching gang and a large herd of wild boars. The situation is critical, request immediate support. Lao Wu nodded, his hand not shaking at all. He immediately picked up his phone and started dialing, his fingers tapping rapidly on the screen. He quickly reported the address and the situation. Brother Yu pushed open his door and blew a short, powerful whistle. It was the assembly call for the farm guard team. Tank, Chinky, and I instantly leapt from the truck. We formed a triangle around Brother Yu, our backs tensed, ears pricked straight up, our eyes filled with a vigilant, fierce glint. Brother Yu crouched down, his rough hand patting each of our heads in turn. His voice was hushed, but every word was crystal clear. Remember, don't take on the king boar directly. Just stall until backup gets here. Finally, Brother Yu's gaze landed on me. His eyes held both trust and a hint of worry. Black Wind, you go to the hollow. Scout out how many men they have, what weapons they're carrying, and their exact positions. Do not engage under any circumstances. Get the intel and come straight back, understand? I barked once and nuzzled my head against his palm. It was my way of agreeing. But in my heart, I knew better than anyone what Brother Gang and his crew were all about. They weren't here for poaching. We had shut down his dog slaughterhouse, cutting off his most lucrative business. We'd also sent his right-hand men, Haiti and Baldi, to prison. This time, he was here to kill Brother Yu. Even the villagers' call for help was most likely a trap he'd set in advance. Using the darkness and the cover of the cornstalks, I moved silently toward the hollow. My paws made no sound as they touched the soft earth. I didn't even rustle the blades of grass. The positioning and stealth awareness I'd honed from playing video games for over a decade in my past life were being put to perfect use in this life. Just as I neared the hollow, I heard Brother Gang's sinister voice, spitting as he spoke from behind a large boulder. Everyone, hold your weapons tight. In a minute, when I set off the dynamite, the boars will get spooked and stampede into Old Man Zhang's cornfield. That punk Zhang will definitely charge in after them with his worthless dogs. When the time comes, we'll block off both ends of the cornfield and let the wild boar king have his fun with him. A few sinister laughs of agreement echoed around, along with the clicking of guns being cocked. The sound sent a chill down my spine. Once the boar has chewed him down to half a life, we'll go in and deliver the final blow. Then we'll just say he was killed in a wild boar attack, and no one will be able to find any fault with it. Once that guy Zhang is dead, everything in these mountains will belong to us brothers. Brother Gang, what about that black dog that messed things up for us? That 5 black hound that seems to be possessed. I heard it was the one that led the cops to our dog slaughterhouse. A gruff voice rang out, and my body instantly tensed up. Brother Gang spat, his tone filled with viciousness. That damn dog. We'll slaughter it, skin it, and make a rug out of its hide. It'll be the perfect revenge for Haiti and Baldi. My heart instantly sank to the pit of my stomach. Then came the twist. This group wasn't just using the boar to kill for them, they had already figured out all of Brother Yu's routes. They even knew the response patterns of the farm protection team inside and out. They had even factored me, this variable, into their plan. What was even more horrifying was that as soon as Brother Gang finished speaking, he added another sentence that nearly made my blood freeze in my veins. "Oh, right, Boss Zhang gave special orders. If you can catch that black dog alive, bring it to him. Boss Zhang said this dog is a little strange. He wants to see for himself what tricks this dog that crawled out of a toilet has up its sleeve." Boss Zhang. It's Boss Zhang again. The same Boss Zhang who worked me like a slave in my past life, stole 5 years of my painstaking work, and climbed the ladder by stepping over my dead body. How could he possibly know that I was reincarnated? How would he know I was reborn from a toilet? My mind buzzed and went completely blank. I accidentally stepped on a dry twig. A soft crack sounded exceptionally piercing in the silent night. "Who's there?" Brother Gang's voice instantly turned vicious. The bright beam of a flashlight shot straight in my direction. I cursed under my breath, spun around, and dashed madly into the cornfield. The sound of a gunshot immediately rang out behind me. Bang! The shotgun pellets hit the cornstalks right behind me. The stalks were instantly pulverized, splattering me with debris and splinters. Damn it, it's that black dog. It was eavesdropping. After it, get it for me. Brother Gang's furious roar echoed, as the chaotic sound of footsteps and curses pursued me relentlessly from behind. I tore through the cornfield like a madman, with only one thought in my mind. I have to get this information to Brother Yu. I have to warn him to be careful. But as soon as I burst out of the cornfield, the scene before me made me freeze in place. The blood in my veins ran cold. The car on the ridge was empty. Brother Yu was gone. Tank was gone too. Only the shattered glass from the broken car window lay scattered on the ground. Old Wu had collapsed beside the car, blood streaming from his forehead, already unconscious. He was still tightly gripping a phone that hadn't been disconnected. Could Brother Yu have been captured by them? Or did he run into the cornfield and get cornered by the herd of wild boars? In the moment I was panicking, I heard the heavy panting of a wild boar from behind and the heavy thud of hooves on the dirt. The ground itself was trembling slightly. I whipped my head around and saw the over 300 Jin wild boar king standing 5 meters behind me, its eyes bloodshot. It was covered in bloody wounds from the explosives. Pine resin and mud had caked into a thick armor on its hide. The tusks in its mouth were as long as a finger and dripping with saliva. It had clearly been driven completely insane by the explosives. And behind it, Brother Gang was leading 7 burly men, armed with guns and machetes, slowly closing in. With sinister smiles on their faces, they trapped both me and the wild boar king in the middle. Well, to think we searched high and low for you, only for you to fall right into our laps. Brother Gang brandished his gun, aiming the muzzle at me with a hideous grin. We were going to deal with that Zhang guy first, but I didn't expect you, you worthless dog, to deliver yourself to us. Perfect. We'll slaughter you first, then go take care of Zhang. Today, both you and your master can go meet your maker. The fur on my body instantly stood on end. I planted myself firmly in front of the unconscious old Wu, my paws digging into the ground, and let out the most ferocious growl of my life. Even if I die, I can't let them lay a finger on old Wu. And I definitely can't let them charge into the cornfield and hurt Brother Yu. Provoked by a firecracker thrown by Brother Gang, the wild boar king instantly let out a deafening roar. It charged at me like a crazed beast, its over 300 Jin body carrying immense force. The ground shook with every step it took. The foul stench that hit my face was so overwhelming I could barely breathe. I tensed up, my claws digging into the ground, ready for a fight to the death. In my last life, I couldn't even protect myself. This life, I absolutely will not watch the people I care about get hurt again. But just as the wild boar king was only 2 meters away and about to hit me, Brother Yu's voice came from the dirt slope above the cornfield. It carried a cold, killing intent, booming through the night sky like thunder. Gangxi, you are suspected of illegal poaching, illegal possession of a firearm, and attempted murder. Drop your weapon and surrender now. Gangxi shot his head up, only to see Brother Yu standing on the slope, the tranquilizer gun in his hand aimed steadily at his head. And behind him, the village chief led more than 20 villagers armed with hoes, carrying poles, and shovels, charging over in a great wave. The beams from their flashlights lit up the entire field as if it were daytime. It turns out, at the same time Brother Yu had old Wu call the police. He had already called the village chief. From the very beginning, he never planned to fight these desperados head-on. Gangxi panicked instantly and raised his hand to shoot at Brother Yu. I seized this golden opportunity, like a black bolt of lightning, and lunged forward. My target wasn't his body, it was the wrist of the hand holding the gun. A second before his finger pulled the trigger, I sank my teeth viciously into his wrist. My fangs instantly pierced his skin and sank into his flesh. With a soft crack, I could clearly feel his wrist bone fracture. My hand. Gangxi let out a piercing scream that was distorted with pain, and the shotgun clattered to the ground. He clutched his bleeding wrist, writhing on the ground in agony. I kept my jaw locked tight, refusing to let go. Tank rushed over too, biting his other arm and pinning him firmly to the ground so he couldn't move. The remaining outlaws were surrounded by the villagers and their hunting dogs, and they were all subdued in no time. All their weapons were confiscated, and each one of them was pinned to the ground, unable to move. But just then, things took an unexpected turn. The wild boar king, dazed from being rammed by Tank, went into a complete frenzy. It spun around recklessly and charged toward a few children watching the commotion from the edge of the field. Those kids had come along with the villagers. The oldest was barely 10, and the youngest was Nianyu, the 5-year-old girl I had saved before. They were all frozen in fear, just wailing where they stood. They'd even forgotten how to run. Brother Yu was too far away, he wouldn't make it in time. The villagers panicked too, their farm tools were no match for the frenzied boar king. I instantly let go of Gangxi and charged forward like a madman. My mind went blank, with only one thought screaming frantically inside: I can't let anything happen to the children. In my last life, I couldn't even protect my own parents. I couldn't even be there for them in their old age. In this life, I will not stand by and watch another innocent person get hurt in front of me. I summoned every ounce of my strength, pushing my 4 legs to their absolute limit. The wind howled past my ears, and every muscle in my body was on fire. Finally, a second before the boar king's tusks were about to hit Nianyu, I slammed hard into its hind leg joint. At the same time, I locked my jaw onto its hamstring and, with a vicious shake of my head, instantly tore a huge gash in its leg. Roaring in pain, it spun around and kicked me square in the chest with its bull-sized hoof. There was a dull thud. I went flying like a rag doll, slamming hard into the dirt ridge behind me. Hot blood instantly filled my mouth, my vision started to go black, and my chest felt like the bones were shattered. Hefeng, Brother Yu's anguished roar reached me. He charged down the slope like a madman, repeatedly pulling the trigger on his tranquilizer gun. All 3 tranquilizer darts hit the wild boar king precisely. The massive beast swayed, still trying to charge toward me, but the anesthetic took effect quickly. Its movements became slower and slower, and the red haze in its eyes gradually faded. A few minutes later, the wild boar king's huge body swayed, then crashed to the ground, completely unconscious. Brother Yu rushed to my side and fell to his knees with a thud. His hands were shaking as he carefully gathered me into his arms. His voice was choked with emotion, filled with a panic I had never heard from him before. Hefeng, hang in there. Don't fall asleep. Old Wu, get over here, quick. Lying in his arms, I looked up at his bloodshot eyes and the cold sweat pouring down his forehead. I struggled to lift my head and gently licked his hand. Don't cry, Brother Yu. I didn't let you down. I protected the children. Lao Wu had woken up. Clutching the wound on his forehead, he stumbled over and frantically gave me a styptic injection. He then quickly checked my injuries, let out a long sigh of relief, and told Brother Yu that I was okay. It's fine. 2 broken ribs, but no internal organ damage. This kid's tough, he's not gonna die. Brother Yu instantly breathed a sigh of relief and held me tightly in his arms. He stroked my head over and over, his touch so gentle as if he were afraid I would shatter. Good boy, you're such a good boy. Half an hour later, police sirens wailed in the distance. The alternating red and blue lights illuminated the entire gully. The police rushed over and shoved Brother Gang and his crew into the police cars. The harshest punishment of the law awaited them. People from the forestry department also arrived. They took the unconscious wild boar king and the subdued herd of wild boars and sent them all to a wildlife rescue station. The villagers surrounded us, thanking us endlessly. Niu, the little girl I'd saved, broke free from her mother's hand, ran up to me, and took out all the milk candies from her pocket. She carefully unwrapped one and held it to my mouth, her big eyes filled with tears. Doggy, eat the candy. It won't hurt after you eat it. I gently took the candy, and the sweetness instantly melted in my mouth. It covered up a metallic taste of blood. On the way back to the base, I lay in Brother Yu's arms the whole time. Watching the night scenery fly by the window, I felt an unprecedented sense of peace. I was finally no longer Yi Chang, the corporate drone who had been a loser his entire life. I am Black Wind, the Black Wind who can protect the ones he wants to protect and guard the things he wants to guard. After returning to the base, I began a long period of recovery. Brother Yu took leave from work and stayed by my side every day, never leaving. He made me special meals every day, boiled beef, steamed eggs, braised pork liver, coming up with different dishes to nurse me back to health until my coat was glossy and smooth. Even the fur I had lost grew back, black and shiny like satin. Lao Wu came every day to change my dressings and give me injections. Seeing me get more energetic day by day, he couldn't help but exclaim to Brother Yu, "This kid is really tough." If any other dog had been kicked by that wild boar king like that, they would have been long gone. But look at him, he's up and running in just half a month. Brother Yu smiled and stroked my head, his eyes full of pride. Well, that depends on whose dog he is. The other dogs at the base now treated me like a hero. Chinky guarded my kennel entrance every day, and as soon as I stepped out, he would follow me closely, his eyes filled with admiration. The 2 Taikang hounds, whenever they went out on patrol, would bring the wild rabbits and pheasants they caught to me first, wagging their tails as if seeking praise. Even the usually aloof tank had a change of heart. Every morning, he would take the beef from his own bowl and put a piece into mine. During training, he would proactively stay by my side, guarding my injured side, afraid I might get bumped or hurt again. The 2 of us went from being rivals at loggerheads to becoming brothers who had been through life and death. Life at the base returned to its usual peace. In fact, it was even livelier than before. Villagers from nearby often brought homemade food and dog food and jerky they'd bought for the dogs when they came to the base to see me. Every time I appeared, the villagers would gather around, smiling, calling my name, petting my head, and saying I was the divine dog protecting the village. Some people even drove dozens of kilometers just to catch a glimpse of me and take my picture. They said they wanted to soak up my spiritual energy. I went from being a stray mutt that everyone shooed away, who could have ended up on a dinner table at any moment, to becoming a legendary dog king, famous throughout the region. But a heavy weight remained on my heart. It was what Brother Gang said before he was arrested. President Zhang somehow knew I was reborn from a toilet. That thought was like a thorn, constantly pricking my heart, leaving me unable to eat or sleep in peace. Who is he? How could he know the secret of my rebirth? In my past life, was my sudden death really an accident? These questions surrounded me like a thick fog. I felt like I couldn't breathe. It wasn't until half a month later, when the police visited the base, that they found Brother Yu and solved the first mystery in my mind. That morning, 2 police officers in uniform walked into the base. They were holding a file folder and had very serious expressions. Brother Yu welcomed them into the office, and I secretly followed. I lay by the door, my ears pricked straight up, not missing a single word they said. Captain Zhang, we're here to update you on the progress of Gongzi's case. One of the officers began to speak, his voice heavy. We interrogated Gang Si, and he confessed that there's a mastermind behind him named Zhang Jingshan. He's the owner of a cultural tourism company in the city. This whole incident was orchestrated by Zhang Jingshan, including the previous illegal poaching and the dog slaughterhouse. It was all funded by Zhang Jingshan. CEO Zhang, my fur instantly bristled, and my claws dug tightly into the ground. In my past life, I worked at his company for 5 years. He forced me to work overtime every single day, making me revise proposals over and over again. He used the fruits of my hard work to climb the corporate ladder, and then he just threw me away like a pawn. Even after I died, he was still trying to profit from my death. I never imagined he was involved in so many illegal activities behind my back. Zhang Jingshan had his eyes on this forest for a long time. He wanted to develop it for illegal tourism and also engage in poaching for profit, but your ranger team was always patrolling the mountains, cutting off his source of income. That's why he's wanted to get rid of you for a long time. As the police officer continued, Brother Yu's expression grew darker. Gang Si confessed that Zhang Jingshan told him he'd give him 500,000 to get rid of you. He even arranged an escape route for him. Moreover, we also investigated the dangerous incidents you encountered on the mountain in the past, including last winter, when you were nearly trapped by an avalanche. That was also Zhang Jingshan's doing. He hired someone to set it up. My heart skipped a beat. So, Brother Yu had been Zhang Jingshan's target all along. He's not just some petty person who steals credit in the office, he's a ruthless, cruel desperado. There's one more thing. The officer paused, his tone becoming even more serious. While investigating Zhang Jingshan, we discovered something. An employee named He Chang died suddenly at his company a while back. We found that He Chang's sudden death was not an accident. Boom, my mind felt like it had been struck by lightning, instantly going blank. He Chang, that's me. My sudden death wasn't an accident. I clung tightly to the doorframe, my whole body trembling. I even forgot to breathe. The medical examiner issued a report. Inside He Chang's body, there were traces of an excessive amount of central nervous system stimulants. In small doses, this drug can keep a person awake, but an overdose will lead to cardiac arrest, causing sudden death. The officer's voice entered my ears, word by word, like daggers stabbing viciously into my heart. We discovered that in the 3 days leading up to He Chang's death, Zhang Jingshan used working overtime as an excuse to give He Chang so-called energy coffee, which was laced with this drug. Furthermore, right before his death, He Chang was holding the proposal for a core project. After He Chang died, Zhang Jingshan claimed it as his own. With that proposal, he received a massive bonus from the company and got a promotion. I couldn't hear anything clearly after that. My ears were ringing, and my vision was going black. 72 hours of continuous overtime. CEO Zhang brought me coffee every day, smiling as he said, He Chang, thank you for your hard work. If this project is a success, I'll make sure you get all the credit. Like a fool, I believed him. I drank cup after cup of the coffee he brought, pushing myself day after day. In the end, I collapsed at my desk and never got up again. I had always thought I died because I didn't take care of my own health. That it was from all the late nights and overtime. But I never, ever imagined that Zhang Jingshan had killed me with his own hands. Just for my proposal, for his promotion and raise, he destroyed my entire life so easily. He destroyed the rest of my parents' lives. I trembled uncontrollably, a choked whimper escaping my throat. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably, mixing with the drool from my mouth and dripping onto the floor. Just how stupid was I in my past life? I treated him as a leader, as a mentor, and I poured my heart and soul into my work for him. I worked myself to the bone, and in the end, he was the one who pushed me into hell with his own 2 hands. The image of my parents crying their hearts out at my funeral flashed before my eyes again. The pain was so intense it felt like my heart was being ripped apart, and I could barely breathe. Hefeng, what's wrong? Brother Yu heard my whimpers and came out, opening the door. He saw me lying on the ground, trembling all over with tears streaming down my face, and immediately knelt down to hold me in his arms. What is it? Is your wound hurting again? He gently wiped the tears from my face, his voice full of concern. I buried my head in his chest, letting out whimpers of pain and anguish. I was like a child who had been terribly wronged. Brother Yu seemed to understand something and gently patted my back, comforting me over and over. I know something's troubling you. I know. It's okay. I'm here for you. The officer also came out, a look of surprise on his face as he stared at me. Captain Zhang, this dog can understand what we're saying. Brother Yu nodded, patting my head, his gaze full of resolve. He's not an ordinary dog. He's my brother and my partner. Then, he raised his head to look at the police, his tone firm and resolute. That animal Zhang Jingshan not only harmed He Chang, but he has also tried to kill me time and time again. I will definitely help you with this. I want to work with you to bring this monster to justice. From that day on, Brother Yu began cooperating with the police, investigating for evidence of Zhang Jingshan's crimes. But Zhang Jingshan is an extremely cunning and meticulous person. He had Gangxi handle all the illegal activities while he hid behind the scenes, leaving almost no direct evidence. Although Gangxi confessed, there was no concrete evidence, so it was impossible to convict Zhang Jingshan. The police investigated for over half a month without any progress. Zhang Jingshan was still at large and even appeared in the media, pretending to be a philanthropist. He donated some money to an animal shelter to build a good reputation. I looked at Zhang Jingshan's hypocritical smiling face on the phone screen, trembling with rage, and bit the chew toy Brother Yu bought for me to pieces. How could this murderer still be living so freely? I absolutely cannot let him get away with it. I have to avenge my past self. I will make him pay for what he's done. But I'm just a dog now. What can I do? I lay on the floor, my mind racing. In my past life, I was with Zhang Jingshan for 5 years. I know all of his habits and secrets like the back of my hand. He is extremely cautious and never uses his own bank cards or phone for illegal matters, but he has one habit he can't break. He has an encrypted external hard drive that stores all of his illegal records, as well as chat logs and transfer receipts with his partners. He hid this hard drive in his office, in a place no one would ever think to look. In my past life, while working late one night, I accidentally saw him hide the hard drive in a secret compartment in the wall behind the landscape painting in his office. Besides him, I'm the only one who knows about this. At this thought, I instantly shot up from the floor, my eyes lighting up. There's a way. I rushed in front of Brother Yu and barked frantically at him. I rubbed my head against his leg, then grabbed his pant leg and started pulling him towards the door. Brother Yu was stunned for a moment, then he understood. Hefeng, do you have a way to find evidence of Zhang Jingshan's crimes? I nodded forcefully and barked once. Brother Yu immediately stood up, grabbed his car keys, and smiled at me, saying, "Good boy. Let's go, we're heading to the city." Half an hour later, Brother Yu drove me to Zhang Jingshan's company in the city's CBD. It was in the tallest office building there. We parked downstairs, and Brother Yu looked at the busy lobby. He frowned. "Hefeng, the security here is too tight. I can't possibly get into his office, let alone find any evidence." I barked at him once and nudged his hand with my head. Then I turned and ran towards the back door of the building. I had already observed that the back door was the employee entrance. There was also a fire escape with lax security, and Zhang Jingshan's office was on the 18th floor. Outside the window, there's an external air conditioner platform that leads right to his office. In my past life, I used the fire escape every day to rush my work. I could navigate this building's layout with my eyes closed. Brother Yu immediately understood what I meant and grabbed me, his eyes full of worry. "Hefeng, no. It's too dangerous. The 18th floor. If you fall, it's all over." I looked at him, gently licked his hand, my gaze firm. "I have to go. This is the only chance to bring Zhang Jingshan to justice. It's also the only chance for me to get justice for my past self." Looking into my eyes, Brother Yu finally relented. He crouched down and hugged me tightly. "Be careful. I'll wait for you downstairs. If anything happens, I'll come up and get you immediately." I barked once, turned, and slipped into the fire escape. I climbed up the stairs, little by little. It took me a full 20 minutes to climb up the 18 floors. I was so tired my tongue was hanging out, but I finally reached the 18th floor. The fire escape door was ajar. I peeked my head out for a look. The employees had all gone home, except for a few working overtime in their cubicles. The hallway was empty, only the motion-activated lights were on. I slipped out silently, sticking close to the wall, and headed towards Zhang Jingshan's office. His office was at the very end of the hallway, and the door was locked. But I didn't need to use the door. I climbed through a hallway window onto the external air conditioner platform outside. On the 18th floor, the wind was so strong I could barely stand. Dozens of meters of empty space were right below my feet. One look down was enough to make me dizzy. I clung desperately to the air conditioning unit, inching my way forward. My paws were scraped raw and bleeding on the sheet metal, but I didn't dare stop. Finally, I made it to the window of Zhang Jingshan's office. The window was left ajar, so I pushed it open with my head and slipped inside without a sound. The office was pitch black, with only a bit of light from the neon signs outside filtering in. I immediately spotted the landscape painting on the wall. It was exactly the same as the one in my memories from my past life. I rushed over, grabbed the frame with my claws, and gave it a hard tug. The landscape painting fell to the floor, revealing the wall behind it. Just as I expected, there was a small hidden compartment in the wall, concealed by a tile. I clawed at the tile, once, twice, 3 times. I finally pried it loose, and just as I thought, a black external hard drive was inside. This is it. I was trembling with excitement as I clamped my jaws around the hard drive. I turned to run for the window, but at that exact moment, the office door suddenly clicked open. The lights flashed on, and Zhang Jingshan's deceitful face appeared in the doorway. He looked at me, then at the painting on the floor, and his expression changed in an instant. "It's you, that 5 black dog." His eyes turned bloodshot the moment he saw the hard drive in my mouth, and he charged at me like a madman. "Drop the hard drive, you beast." I turned with the hard drive in my mouth and jumped for the window, but he was already on me, grabbing my tail. A sharp pain shot up from my tail as he brutally yanked me back. I slammed onto the floor, and the hard drive fell out. Zhang Jingshan slammed his foot on my stomach. The pain was so excruciating I almost blacked out. He bent over, picked up the hard drive, and clutched it tightly. His eyes were filled with malice and madness. I never would have guessed. I truly never would have guessed. He Chang, even as a dog, you're still trying to ruin my plans. My mind went blank, and my blood ran cold. He knows. He's known all along that I'm He Chang. Are you surprised that I know you're He Chang? Zhang Jingshan sneered, bending over me with his foot still on my stomach. He leaned close to my ear and enunciated every word. I've known since the very day you were reborn. Why do you think you were able to be reborn? If it weren't for me, do you really think you could have crawled out of a toilet bowl as a dog? I was completely floored. My rebirth had something to do with him? Did you think that poison I gave you was just to kill you suddenly? That drug separates the soul from the body. I wanted to completely obliterate your soul, so you could never be reincarnated. I just didn't expect you to end up possessing this dog and actually survive. Zhang Jingshan laughed even more wildly, pressing down harder with his foot. I felt like my ribs were about to snap. I was going to let you live out your pathetic dog life, just to see what you were capable of. But I never imagined you'd repeatedly interfere and even try to send me to prison. He Chang, you will never defeat me, not in this life or the next. As he said this, he pulled a fruit knife out of his desk drawer. He aimed the cold, gleaming tip of the knife at my eye. Since you refuse to learn your place, I'll put you out of your misery. This time, I'll scatter your soul to the winds. You won't even get the chance to come back as a dog. He raised the knife and stabbed down hard at my head. In that split second, I mustered every last ounce of my strength and sank my teeth into his ankle. My fangs pierced his flesh, and he let out a piercing scream. The knife clattered to the floor as he stumbled backward and collapsed. I seized the chance, grabbed the hard drive off the floor, and bolted for the window, leaping onto the AC unit outside. Grab it, don't let it escape, Zhang Jingshan screamed frantically. 2 bodyguards burst in from outside and lunged for the window. With the hard drive in my mouth, I scrambled along the ledge with the AC units, running desperately for the fire escape window. The bodyguards were right behind me. Just as one of them was about to grab me, I leapt through the fire escape window and bolted frantically down the stairs. The sound of footsteps and shouting pursued me relentlessly. I didn't dare look back, I just kept running for my life. I kept a death grip on the hard drive, not daring to let go. This was the proof of Zhang Jingshan's crimes, something I'd risked my life for. There was no way I was letting them get it back. Finally, I made it to the ground floor and burst out of the stairwell. The first thing I saw was Brother Yu waiting by the door. When he saw me emerge, covered in wounds and with the hard drive in my mouth, his eyes instantly welled up. He ran over and swept me into his arms. Hefeng, catch that dog, get the hard drive. The bodyguards behind him also gave chase. Zhang Jingshan limped along behind them, his face twisted like a demon. Brother Yu scooped me up, turned, and jumped into the car. He slammed the gas pedal to the floor, and the car shot forward like an arrow, instantly leaving them in the dust. I lay on the passenger seat and placed the hard drive from my mouth onto Brother Yu's lap. I finally let out a sigh of relief, my entire body feeling drained of strength. Brother Yu picked up the hard drive and looked at me, all covered in injuries. His hands were trembling, and his eyes were bloodshot. Good boy, you're a really good boy. We drove through the night and delivered the hard drive to the police station. When the police opened the hard drive, its contents made everyone gasp. Inside was not only all the evidence of Zhang Jingshan ordering Gang Si to poach and commit murder, but also complete records of his embezzlement of company funds, bribery, and even illegal smuggling over the years by abusing his position. Every single transaction was recorded with crystal clarity. The evidence was irrefutable. Early the next morning, the police were dispatched to arrest Zhang Jingshan. When the police rushed into his office to handcuff him, he was still daydreaming about getting rich off the mountain's resources. The news of Zhang Jingshan's capture spread throughout the city in an instant. The entire criminal syndicate behind him was also uprooted by the police. All individuals involved were arrested and brought to justice. The harshest penalties of the law awaited them. Watching the news footage of Zhang Jingshan being escorted into a police car, the heavy stone that had been weighing on my heart for so long was finally lifted. My great revenge was complete. The debts of humiliation from my past life, I finally settled them with my own paws in this one. That night, Brother Yu took all the dogs from the base to a small stream in the mountains and roasted a huge piece of beef. It was to celebrate my success. I lay on a rock, gnawing on the beef that Brother Yu tore off for me. I looked at Tank and Chingpi wagging their tails non-stop around me, and at Brother Yu and Old Wu, who were sitting by the fire, smiling and tossing me pieces of jerky. My heart was filled with an unprecedented sense of contentment. I was finally living the life I wanted to live. No longer the timid, bullied wage slave, He Chang, but someone who could stand on his own, who could get his revenge. The Dog King, Hefeng, who could protect those he wanted to protect. The days passed one by one, and in the blink of an eye, it was winter. The first big snow fell in the mountains, covering everything in a blanket of white. It was a beautiful, silver-clad world. Every day, Tank, Chingpi, and I would follow Brother Yu into the mountains to patrol, preventing anyone from sneaking in to poach while the mountain paths were sealed by snow. Our farm protection team was also growing stronger. Those Chinese rural dogs that we had rescued from the dog slaughterhouse before. Several of them were sent to the base, and after training, they all became excellent farm protection dogs. They joined our team. The villagers from all the surrounding areas no longer looked down on Chinese rural dogs. Anyone who had a mutt would proudly say, "Our dog is the same breed as Hefeng. It's a 5 black dog. They're the smartest and most protective dogs." Many people even started specifically adopting stray Chinese rural dogs, giving them a home. Watching all of this, my heart was filled with immense gratification. My whole reason for jumping into that toilet and being reborn was to prove that Chinese rural dogs are in no way inferior to those purebred pet dogs. And now, I've done it. But quiet days are always punctuated by some kind of accident that catches you completely off guard. That day, we had just returned from our mountain patrol and reached the entrance of the base. When we saw a familiar figure waiting at the gate, it was the old grandma who had adopted the 3 little puppies. The old grandma's eyes were red, and she was carrying a cloth bag in her hand. Seeing us return, she immediately rushed over. She grabbed Brother Yu's hand, and tears started to fall. Captain Zhang, Hefeng, I'm begging you, please save my 3 little pups. My heart instantly clenched. Those 3 little puppies were the ones their mother, Yellow Dog, had protected with her life. I was always worried about them. Every so often, I'd go with Brother Yu to visit them and bring them food. They were half-grown now and very lively. Every time they saw me, they would pounce on me, circle around, and wag their tails non-stop. They'd lick my face, treating me like their own family. Ma'am, please don't worry. Just tell us slowly what happened. Brother Yu quickly helped the old grandma up and asked anxiously. Last night, a wolf came down from the mountains and killed all my chickens. It also snatched away the 3 little puppies. I followed its tracks in the snow for a long time. I chased it to the foot of the mountain but didn't dare go any further. There's a wolf den in there, the old grandma said, crying, her body trembling. My heart instantly sank to the bottom of my stomach. All the fur on my body stood on end. A wolf. There's actually a wolf pack in these mountains? I'd never encountered a wolf before while patrolling with Brother Yu. I only ever heard old Wu say that there was a wolf pack deep in the mountains, but that they rarely came down and would never proactively take a villager's dog. Ma'am, don't worry. We'll go into the mountains right now. We'll definitely rescue the puppies for you, model. Yu Zhe immediately turned back to the base to grab his gear. A tranquilizer gun, hunting knife, and flashlight, he had it all. Tank, Shinki, and I, along with the 3 other farm protection dogs, were already by the car, ready to charge. Our eyes were filled with a fierce glint. Those 3 little puppies were the children I promised their mother I would protect. I absolutely could not let anything happen to them. Yu Zhe started the car, and we sped off toward the deep mountains. The snow fell heavier and heavier, covering the mountain road and making it harder to drive. After more than half an hour, the car couldn't go any further. We had to get out and continue on foot. In the snow, the tracks of wolves and the paw prints of the puppies were clearly visible. They stretched deep into the mountains. I pressed my nose to the snow, desperately trying to catch the scent of the little puppies. I led Yu Zhe and the others step by step into the deep mountains. After walking for about 2 hours, we finally reached the entrance of an abandoned mine. The scent of the puppies, along with a strong, rank smell of wolves, was coming from inside the mine. Yu Zhe gestured for us to stop. He turned off his flashlight and lay down at the entrance of the mine, listening for any sounds from within. From inside the mine came the fearful whimpers of the puppies and the low growls of wolves. There were at least 5 or 6 of them. Every muscle in my body tensed up, ready to charge. Just as Yu Zhe was about to lead us in, a wolf howled from deep within the mine, followed by a man's laughter that sent a chill down my spine. Well, I didn't expect prey to deliver itself to our doorstep on a snowy day like this. Captain Zhang, we've been waiting for you for a long time. My heart sank in an instant. The tables had turned. This wasn't a case of wolves coming down the mountain to snatch the puppies. Someone had set a trap, deliberately luring us to this mine deep in the mountains. Yu Zhe instantly raised his tranquilizer gun, aimed it at the mine entrance, and shouted in a deep voice, "Who's in there? Come out." Footsteps from inside the mine grew closer, and a few men walked out. They were all holding hunting rifles, the barrels aimed right at us, with sinister smiles on their faces. And the man in the lead was none other than Zhang Jingshan's younger brother, Zhang Jinggai. After Zhang Jingshan was caught, he fled, and the police had been hunting for him ever since. I can't believe he was hiding in these deep mountains. Captain Zhang, I bet you didn't expect this. You sent my brother to prison. You think it's all over? Zhang Jinggai aimed his rifle steadily at Yu Zhe, a twisted grin on his face. Today, you're going to pay for my brother's life with your own. And you stupid dog. My brother fell because of you. Today, I'm going to skin you alive to atone for him. As soon as he finished speaking, the 5 or 6 wolves also walked out of the mine. They stood by his side, letting out vicious growls at us, their eyes glowing green in the dark. He had raised these wolves. In an instant, we were trapped. In front of us were desperate criminals with hunting rifles. Behind us, a pack of fierce wolves. The snow had sealed off the mountain. We were isolated, helpless, with no way to retreat. Zhang Jinggai laughed, raised his rifle, and put his finger on the trigger. Captain Zhang, in your next life, learn not to be so nosy. The moment he was about to pull the trigger, I let out a deafening roar and was the first to charge forward. My target wasn't Zhang Jinggai, but the wolf pack beside him. Tank and the other dogs followed close behind me. Like arrows shot from a bow, we pounced on the wolves, and in an instant, we were locked in a vicious fight. Yu Zhe seized the opportunity to duck behind a rock and fired his tranquilizer gun repeatedly. 2 darts accurately hit 2 of the armed thugs. The 2 men collapsed into the snow instantly. The scene erupted into chaos. With bloodshot eyes, Zhang Jinggai raised his rifle, aimed at me, and pulled the trigger. Bang! The gunshot echoed through the valley. I lunged to the side, dodging the bullet that grazed my body. And hit the snow, sending a flurry of white into the air. The moment I landed, a gray wolf lunged at me. Its open mouth revealed sharp fangs glinting coldly. I didn't have time to dodge and had to meet it head-on. We started tearing at each other. The gray wolf was incredibly strong and bit down hard on my shoulder. The pain made my whole body tremble, but I refused to let go. I bit down on its neck and viciously shook my head. The gray wolf let out a painful cry, released its grip, and collapsed onto the snow. Its blood stained the white ground red. But just then, I heard a pained yell from Tank behind me. I whipped my head around to see that Tank, in order to protect Yu Jie, had been shot in the leg by Zhang Jinghai's rifle and had fallen to the snow. Blood poured from the wound, staining a large patch of snow red. Zhang Jinghai raised his rifle and walked toward Yu Jie step by step, a crazed look on his face. Zhang, you're finished. I looked at Tank lying in the snow, at Yu Jie cornered with nowhere to go. And something inside my head just snapped. I lunged at Zhang Jinghai like a madman. With all my strength, I bit down hard on the wrist of his gun hand. Zhang Jinghai let out a blood-curdling scream, and the shotgun clattered to the ground. I held on tight, biting his wrist, and viciously dragged him down into the snow. Tank, enduring the excruciating pain, lunged forward and bit his other arm, pinning him firmly to the ground. Yu Jie took down the remaining thugs with his tranquilizer gun. The wolf pack was also beaten into retreat by us, and they fled back into the mine with their tails between their legs. Not daring to come out again, I rushed into the mine and found the 3 trembling pups in the farthest corner. When they saw me, they instantly pounced, burrowing into my arms and letting out pitiful whimpers, their little bodies shaking like leaves. I gently licked their heads to comfort them. Don't be afraid, I'm here to save you. I led them out of the mine. Yu Jie had already contacted the police, who would be arriving soon. In the snow, Tank was lying on the ground, the wound on his leg still bleeding. I walked over and gently licked his wound, letting out a comforting whimper in my throat. Tank lifted his head, gently licked my face, and wagged his tail. The two of us had won another tough battle together. Half an hour later, police sirens echoed from beyond the mountains. The police arrived and arrested Zhang Jinghai and all his accomplices. We took the 3 little pups and the injured Tank back to the base. When the old grandma saw that the 3 pups were safe and sound, she hugged them and cried, thanking us and bowing to us repeatedly. Looking at the lively little pups, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Mama Wolf, did you see that? I protected your children. They've grown up safe and sound. Winter quickly passed, and spring arrived. The snow in the mountains melted, the trees began to bud, and the hills were covered in wildflowers. It was a beautiful sight. Tank's leg had also healed, and although it left a scar, it didn't affect his running in the mountains at all. He was still the same majestic Dogo Argentino. Our farm protection team became the staunchest guardians of this forest. Every morning, just as the sun was rising, we would follow Yu Jie into the mountains to patrol. In the evening, we'd return with the setting sun. Life was fulfilling and peaceful. Yu Jie made me a new dog tag and hung it around my neck. On the front of the tag were 2 words, Hefeng. On the back, a line was engraved, Farm Protection Team Meritorious Dog, Zhang Yu's partner. I polished this tag until it's shown every day, and I wore it wherever I went. This was my honor, and also my responsibility. One day, we had just returned from our patrol when we saw a police car parked at the entrance to the base. A few people in police uniforms were waiting at the gate. The lead officer had high-ranking insignia on his shoulder. Seeing us return, he immediately greeted us with a smile and firmly shook Yu Ji's hand. Comrade Zhang Yu, hello. We're from the Provincial Police Dog Base. We came here specifically for Hefeng. I froze for a moment, tilting my head as I looked at them. You came for me? We've heard about Hefeng's deeds. His intelligence, courage, and ability to execute tasks far surpass those of ordinary police dogs. He's even more outstanding than many professionally trained, meritorious police dogs, the lead officer said with a smile, his gaze falling upon me. His eyes filled with admiration. We've come this time to invite Hefeng to join our provincial police dog base. To become an official police dog, we will give him the best training and the best care. We'll allow him to play a greater role and become a true meritorious dog. Yu Jie was stunned for a moment and looked down at me, his eyes showing both reluctance and hesitation. He knew this was a huge opportunity for me, the highest honor. Everyone at the base looked at me. Old Wu, and even Chinky and the others, fell silent. I looked at the police officer, then turned to look at Yu Jie, at Tank and Chinky beside me. And at this base where I had lived for nearly a year, this forest that I protected. I took 2 steps forward and buried my head in Yu Ji's arms. Then, I turned around and gently shook my head at the police officer. I took 2 steps back and stood beside Yu Jie. I'm not going. This is my home. Yu Jie is my master, my brother, and my partner. I'm not going anywhere. I want to protect him, to protect this forest, to protect my home. Yu Ji's eyes instantly turned red. He knelt down and hugged me tightly, stroking my head over and over again. The police officer was taken aback for a moment, then he smiled. He said to Yu Jie, it seems Hefeng has already made his choice. Comrade Zhang Yu, you have the best partner. He walked over, gently patted my head, and said with a smile. Hefeng, no matter where you are, you will always be the most outstanding meritorious dog in our hearts. If you ever need us in the future, we'll always be here. With that, they got in the car and left. Under the setting sun, Brother Yu sat on the steps of the base. I lay by his side. Tank, Chinky, and the others lay quietly around us. Brother Yu stroked my head, looked at the distant mountains and forest, and said softly, Hefeng, do you think we can protect this mountain for our whole lives? I lifted my head, gently licked his hand, and barked once. We can. As long as I'm here, I will always be with you, always protecting this forest. I'll always be your partner. The days passed just like that, peaceful and stable. I thought I had finally escaped all the shadows of my past life, that I could spend this life peacefully and steadily with Brother Yu, protecting this forest for the rest of my life. But I never expected that a bigger mystery was waiting for me. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, I returned to the night of my sudden death in my past life. I was slumped over my desk, my consciousness fading, but I clearly saw that in the second before I lost consciousness. Zhang Jingshan was standing beside me, holding a strange black box, chanting a strange incantation, with an eerie smile on his face. And my soul was sucked out of my body by that black box and then thrown into the toilet. When I opened my eyes again, I had become the Hefeng I am now. The images in the dream became clearer and clearer. I saw that the black box was carved with strange patterns and a symbol I was incredibly familiar with. I had seen that symbol in Zhang Jingshan's office and in Brother Gang's dog slaughterhouse. I had even seen it in the abandoned mine deep in these mountains. I suddenly woke up from the dream, covered in sweat, my heart racing. It turns out my rebirth was never an accident. It was all caused by Zhang Jingshan with that black box. But what on earth was his purpose? Why did he kill me, only to have me reborn as a dog? What in the world was that black box? Just as I was puzzling over it, the base's door was suddenly thrown open. Old Wu stumbled in, his face pale. His voice was trembling. Zhang Yu, Hefeng, it's bad news. Something's happened in the mountains. Brother Yu instantly shot up from the bed and grabbed the tranquilizer gun beside him. He asked in a deep voice, what is it? Speak slowly. Some villagers went into the mountains to pick mushrooms and found a cave deep inside. Inside there are lots of animal skeletons and human bones. The walls are covered in strange symbols, exactly the same as the ones we saw in the mine before. Old Wu's words made all the hair on my body stand on end. The black box from my dream, that eerie symbol, and the cave symbols Old Wu was talking about all matched up perfectly. Brother Yu snatched up the hunting rifle leaning against the door, his fingers skillfully loading around into the chamber. He glanced down at me, his eyes showing not a trace of panic. Only the same determination as always. Hefeng, Tank, Shingi, with me. Old Wu, you stay at the base and contact the police. Send them the location. We'll go into the mountains first to check on the situation. I barked once and was the first to rush to the door. My paws hit the concrete floor, still wet with morning dew, and every muscle in my body tensed up. No matter what kind of monsters were hiding in that cave, if they dared to touch this forest. If they dared to hurt Brother Yu, I would tear out their throats. Tank's sturdy body followed close behind. He nudged my shoulder with his head. A low growl rumbled in his throat in agreement. After that life or death battle in the mine, the two of us had long since become brothers in arms. Whenever I charge forward, he will always be by my side. Shingi, with 2 Taikang hounds, was already guarding the courtyard gate, his ears pricked straight up. Vigilantly staring in the direction of the mountain path, his eyes filled with a ferocious, eager light. After a year of training in real combat, the little guy who once had his leg gored by a wild boar had long since become a farm guardian dog who could stand on his own. Brother Yu slung the equipment pack over his back, shut the base's main gate with a backhand motion, and jumped into the SUV parked in the yard. Tank and the others and I immediately jumped in after him. The moment the car door closed, the SUV roared to life and took off, speeding towards the deep mountains. The scenery outside the window flew by, changing from smooth country lanes to bumpy mountain roads. A spring rain had just fallen in the mountain forest, and the scent of damp earth and fresh grass drifted in through the crack in the window. But I was in no mood to admire the wildflowers covering the mountainside. My nose was twitching non-stop. I was trying to catch every unfamiliar scent on the wind, while that dream replayed over and over in my head. The black box, the strange markings, and Zhang Jingshan's contorted face. I had always thought that Zhang Jingshan was the mastermind behind this whole conspiracy, but now I realize he was just a pawn on the surface. The real culprit is still hidden in the fog of these deep mountains. And what unnerved me even more was that symbol. I hadn't just seen it in Zhang Jingshan's office in the mine. I had also seen the exact same pattern among my father's belongings in my past life. It's just that I was too young at the time and just thought it was some random mark my father had drawn. I never paid it any mind. Thinking of my father, my heart felt like it was being squeezed by a giant hand. My father died young in my last life. I only remember what he looked like in his army uniform and the feel of his broad, warm hands. I remember how he repeatedly told me to take good care of Mom before he left. And to be an upright person. But I never knew what he went through after leaving the army, or why he suddenly fell ill and passed away. Yu Zhe seemed to sense my anxiety. He took one hand off the wheel and gently stroked my head. Hefeng, don't worry. Whatever we find, I'm right here with you. I lifted my head and nuzzled his palm. A low whimper rumbled in my throat. Yu Zhe, what was the connection between you and my father? Is the reason you're protecting this forest related to his death? The SUV drove for another half an hour before it couldn't go any further. Most of the mountain path ahead had been washed out by last night's rain. The road was blocked by rubble and fallen logs. We could only continue on foot. Yu Zhe turned off the engine, grabbed a tranquilizer gun and a flashlight, then pushed open the door and jumped out. Tank and the others and I immediately followed, lining up neatly beside the vehicle. We waited for Yu Ji's command. The villager who reported it was waiting for us at the start of the trail. It was old Hunter Wang, who lives at the foot of the mountain. When he saw us coming, he immediately rushed over, his face etched with anxiety and lingering fear. Captain Zhang, you're finally here. That cave is just ahead, under Eagle Beak Cliff. I was out picking mushrooms with my grandson this morning and stumbled upon it by accident. The scene inside is terrifying. There's a pile of bones as big as a small hill, and the walls are covered in all these crooked drawings. It just looks evil. Yu Jie patted old man Wang on the shoulder, his voice calm and reassuring. Don't you worry, sir. You should take your grandson and head back down the mountain. Leave this to us. The police will be here soon. It's not safe in the mountains, so don't linger. Old man Wang nodded again and again. Then he glanced at his dogs behind him and started muttering. With Heifeng here, we'll be fine. This kid is the mountain god around here. After saying that, he took his little grandson's hand and started walking back down the mountain. Listening to his words, I didn't feel the slightest bit of relief. The title, Mountain God, is a praise given to me by the villagers. It is also a responsibility that weighs on me. This mountain forest, I must protect it, just like my father protected it with his life. Brother Yu gave us a hand signal. He lowered his voice and ordered, Tank, you follow behind me on the left. Qingpi, you take the 2 Taikangs on the right flank. Hefeng, you scout ahead. Watch your step and stay alert. The situation inside is unknown, so don't charge in recklessly. We all wagged our tails in unison, acknowledging the command. I took a deep breath and pressed my nose to the damp earth, carefully distinguishing the scents in the wind. Besides the usual wild rabbits and pheasants of the forest, there was a faint smell of blood and a subtle, almost non-existent, scent of gunpowder. There was also a strange scent of a stranger, one with a decaying odor. We weren't the only ones. There were other people near this cave. I stopped in my tracks immediately. I turned around, gave Brother Yu 2 low barks, and pointed with my paw in the direction of Eagle Beak Cliff. A warning growl rumbled in my throat. Brother Yu understood my meaning instantly. He immediately raised his tranquilizer gun and released the safety. He gave us a hand signal to spread out, and we dispersed at once, using the bushes for cover as we silently crept towards Eagle Beak Cliff. The closer we got to the cave, the stronger the smell of blood became. It was mixed with a damp, mussy smell and the scent of that black box from my dream. Exactly the same. My heart began to beat faster and faster. My paws stepped on the fallen leaves without making a single sound. The stealth skills I honed playing video games in my past life were being put to perfect use in this one. Finally, we reached the mouth of the cave. It was mostly covered by vines, with only an opening about half a person's height visible. It was pitch black inside. A cold wind blew out from the entrance, carrying a bone-chilling cold. And that thick, overpowering stench of blood. Brother Yu turned off his flashlight's bright beam, switching to a faint red light, and he nodded at me. I took a deep breath, lowered my body, and was the first to squeeze into the cave. Tank followed close behind, while Qingpi and the others stood guard at the entrance. This was to prevent anyone from rushing out, and also to prevent anyone from flanking us from the outside. The cave was much larger than I had imagined, like a naturally formed karst cave. Countless stalactites hung from the ceiling, and the ground was pockmarked with puddles of water. After walking about 10 meters inside, the sight before me nearly made my blood run cold. In the very center of the cave was a small mountain of skeletons. Most were animal bones, dogs, wild boars, and even a black bear. But mixed in among these skeletons were quite a few human bones. Glistening white skulls were scattered on the ground, their dark, empty eye sockets facing the entrance. It was enough to make your scalp tingle. And on the cave walls were carved countless strange symbols, just like the patterns on the black box from my dream. Not a single detail was different. Those symbols seemed to be alive. Under the red light, they twisted and squirmed. The sight made my head spin, and Brother Yu's breathing grew heavy. He held up the red light flashlight, slowly scanning the symbols on the wall. My hand tightened unconsciously, my knuckles turning white. I could clearly feel the shock and anger radiating from him, and a hint of sadness that he couldn't hide. Just then, my paw kicked something hard. I looked down, and saw a metal tag embedded in the dirt. I immediately started digging at the soil with my paws, and dug the tag out. It was an old-fashioned military dog tag. The paint on it had long since peeled off, but the name and number carved on it were still clear. Hejianjun. 79217. Hejianjun. That's my father's name. My mind went completely blank with a buzz. It was like being struck by lightning. Everything just went white. I stared intently at the dog tag, my paws shaking uncontrollably. Tears welled up in my eyes, mixing with the muddy water in the cave, and dripped onto the dog tag. In my past life, I had searched for my father's dog tag countless times. Mom said that when Dad left, his dog tag was missing. We all thought it had been cremated with him. I never expected that it would turn up in this strange cave deep in the mountains. Brother Yu also saw the dog tag I dug up. The flashlight in his hand fell to the ground with a clang, its red light dancing wildly around the cave. He stumbled as he crouched down and picked up the tag with a trembling hand. After just one glance, this tough man who never shed a tear had his eyes turn red instantly. Large tears streamed down, splashing onto the dog tag. Old he, it's you. It's really you. His voice was choked with sobs, filled with endless pain and regret. His body shook uncontrollably, as if all his strength had been drained in an instant, and he collapsed onto the cold, muddy ground. Watching him, the questions in my heart grew deeper. Brother Yu really did know my father. Between them, what on earth happened? My father's death, and this cave, what's the connection? Brother Yu clutched the dog tag, sitting there in the mud. He was silent for a long, long time, so long I thought time itself had stopped. Finally, he began to speak, his voice as hoarse as if it had been scraped with sandpaper. He told me about a past that had been buried for more than 20 years. Brother Yu and my father, He Jianjun, were comrades in the same unit, brothers who had risked their lives for each other. They served as soldiers on the border for 8 years, carrying out countless missions together. and had clawed their way out of piles of the dead. 8 years ago, they were discharged together. Brother Yu returned to his hometown and became a forest ranger for this mountain. But my father stayed in the city and joined a foreign trade company. But in the 3rd year after they were discharged, my father suddenly came to find Brother Yu. His face was pale as he told him that he had discovered a cross-border smuggling and poaching gang operating on the border. This gang didn't just smuggle wild animals, they also smuggled cultural relics and contraband. They had connections everywhere, and countless people were involved. And what shocked him even more was that among the core members of this gang was a comrade he had left the service with. My father said he had already obtained key evidence against the gang and was going to report them. Brother Yu tried to warn him at the time, telling him the gang was too dangerous and to wait for him so they could figure something out together. But my father said he couldn't wait any longer. This gang had already harmed too many people. He had to step forward. But just 3 days after that meeting, Brother Yu received a call from my mother saying that my father had suddenly fallen gravely ill. By the time he got to the hospital, they couldn't save him. He was gone. Right away, Brother Yu felt something was wrong. My father had always been in robust health. He was famous in the army for being a tough guy. How could he just suddenly be gone? He rushed to the city overnight, wanting to find out the truth of the matter. But the death certificate from the hospital was perfectly clear. It was an acute heart attack. My mother had completely broken down by then, and the house was in chaos. Brother Yu investigated for a long time but couldn't find any clues. The evidence my father had also vanished without a trace. After my father was buried, Brother Yu returned to this forest. He became the captain of the farm protection team. He watched over this mountain, and he's been watching over it for over 20 years. He always felt that my father's death was connected to this forest. The lair of that smuggling ring was hidden deep within these mountains. He stood guard here, waiting for them to show up, waiting to avenge his old brother. By the time Brother Yu got to this part, he was sobbing uncontrollably. He stroked the military dog tag, repeating my father's name over and over. Old he, I'm sorry. I wasn't good enough. It's been over 20 years, and I've only just found what you left behind. I've only just found a single clue. I failed you. I lay at his feet and buried my head in his lap. A hurt and pained whimper escaped my throat, and tears streamed down my face. So it's true, my father didn't die from an illness. He was murdered. He was trying to expose that criminal gang, and it cost him his life. And in my past life, I knew nothing about it. I foolishly worked for the company of the very enemies who killed my father. I worked there for a full 5 years, and in the end, they killed me too. An immense wave of grief and rage washed over me. My body began to tremble uncontrollably. My teeth were grinding, and the redness in my eyes felt like it would spill over. The people who killed my father. I won't let a single one of them get away. I will make them pay in blood. Just then, a faint snapping sound suddenly came from outside the cave. It was the sound of a twig being stepped on. I snapped out of my grief instantly. All the fur on my body stood on end. I whipped around to face the cave entrance and let out a ferocious growl. Someone's here, and there's more than one. They've blocked the entrance. We're surrounded. Brother Yu reacted in an instant. He wiped the tears from his face. I picked up the flashlight and tranquilizer gun from the ground and quickly hid behind a huge rock. He gestured to me and Tank immediately dodged to the other side of the cave entrance. Getting ready to charge, a clapping sound came from outside the cave. A sinister man's voice rang out, filled with undisguised mockery. Zhang Yu, long time no see. I didn't expect that after more than 20 years, you'd still be guarding this worthless mountain. And you actually managed to find this place. I really didn't expect it. When Brother Yu heard this voice, his face instantly turned ashen. The veins on the hand holding the gun bulged. He spat out 2 words through gritted teeth, old ghost who. The vines at the cave entrance were ripped aside, and several men carrying hunting rifles walked in, blocking the entrance completely. The one in the lead was an old man with graying hair. He had a long scar on his face, and one of his eyes was a cloudy, grayish white. He looked sinister and terrifying. He was toying with a dagger in his hand, a twisted smile on his face. I stared at him, unblinking. My nose caught his scent, that rotten, human smell. It was the same smell we caught before we entered the mountains. It was them. They'd been hiding near the cave all along. Old ghost who? The person who harmed old he back then. Was you, wasn't it? Brother Yu's voice sounded like it was squeezed from between his teeth. Filled with overwhelming hatred, the old man burst out laughing. The scar on his face twisted, making him look especially terrifying. That's right, it was me. That idiot, He Jianjun. He just had to go against me, turning down a ton of money, insisting on reporting us. If he didn't die, who would? The first major twist hit my heart like a hammer. This old man was the murderer who killed my father with his own hands, and the real mastermind behind Zhang Jingshan. He was the true leader of this cross-border smuggling and poaching gang. In that moment, my blood boiled. My claws dug into the ground as I got ready to charge. As soon as Brother Yu gave the order, I would rush forward and rip out this old bastard's throat. Old ghost whose gaze fell on me. He looked me up and down, his one cloudy eye narrowing. A strange smile appeared on his face. Oh, so this must be that 5 black dog that's become a spirit. That useless Zhang Jingshan couldn't even handle a single dog, and he even got himself sent to prison. What a worthless piece of trash. He took a step forward, pointing the dagger at me. His smile grew more sinister. I, for one, never expected that He Jianjun's son would actually be reborn as a dog. What a joke from the heavens, eh? He Chang, am I right? My mind went blank, and the blood in my veins instantly ran cold. He knows. He has known all along. That I am He Chang. From the very beginning, he knew my identity. Aren't you surprised? Wondering how I know? Old Ghost Who smiled smugly. That black box that can capture souls. I'm the one who brought it back from the border all those years ago. I gave it to Zhang Jingshan with my own hands. I know how to use it better than anyone. Originally, I wanted your soul, He Chang, to be shattered to pieces, so you could never, ever overturn the case. I never thought you'd end up possessing this dog. You're really hard to kill. So, this is my rebirth. It was all an accident he orchestrated from the very beginning. Zhang Jingshan was just a blade in his hands. His real goal was to make me disappear for good. It was to cover up the truth of how he murdered my father, and to protect the secrets of his smuggling ring. I stared him down, a low growl, the most vicious of my life, rumbling in my throat. I was like an enraged beast, the murderous intent practically overflowing from my eyes. Over 20 years ago, he murdered my father. 5 years ago, he murdered me. Today, I'm going to settle this score, with interest. Old Ghost Who seemed to be enjoying my rage. He just shrugged. A nonchalant smile spread across his face. So what if you've become a dog, He Chang? You're just like your dead old man. Both of you are fools. Now that you're in this cave, don't even think about leaving alive. After you're dead, this cave will be your tomb. No one will ever find you. He gave a sharp wave of his hand, and the burly men behind him immediately raised their hunting rifles. The barrels aimed in unison at the boulder we were hiding behind, the dark muzzles gleamed coldly in the dim cave. Brother Yu immediately pushed me down behind the boulder. He shook his head, warning me not to do anything rash. He lowered his voice and whispered quickly in my ear. Hefeng, I'll fire in a moment to draw their attention. You and Tank charge out from the side. Bite the guns out of their hands. And remember, don't fight them head on. Be careful. I nuzzled his hand with my head and wagged my tail. I knew this was our only chance. Fortune favors the bold. Brother Yu took a deep breath. He suddenly leaned out from behind the boulder, firing the tranquilizer gun in quick succession. 2 darts hit the 2 men in front squarely in the neck. Neither of them even made a sound. They dropped to the ground, stiff as boards. Now was the time. I let out a deafening roar and was the first to charge from behind the boulder. I moved like a black bolt of lightning, heading straight for the armed man in the center. Tank was right behind me, his powerful frame charging forward like a heavy tank. He slammed into another man's midsection. The man didn't even have time to react. Before he knew it, I was on him, sinking my teeth into the wrist that held the gun. My sharp fangs pierced his flesh in an instant. He let out a blood-curdling scream. The hunting rifle clattered to the ground. I kept my jaw locked tight. I yanked him hard, pulling him to the ground. He fell to the floor, thrashing around in agony, with no strength left to fight back. Meanwhile, Tank had also succeeded. He'd slammed the other man hard against the cave wall and latched onto his arm. No matter how much the man punched and kicked, he refused to let go. Chingpi rushed in with 2 Taikang hounds. They were small and agile, going straight for the men's ankles. They had the burly men completely disoriented. They couldn't aim their guns at all. The scene instantly devolved into chaos. Brother Yu seized the opportunity to rush out from behind the boulder, taking down the last 2 men in a matter of moments. In the blink of an eye, all the men Old Ghost Who had brought had been taken down. The only one left in the cave was Old Ghost Who himself. Seeing his men lying all over the ground, the smile on his face finally vanished. Replaced by a face full of desperation and madness, he suddenly whipped a pistol out from his jacket. He aimed the gun right at Brother Yu. Don't get cocky, Zhang. Even if I go down today, I'm taking you with me. His finger slammed down on the trigger. My pupils shrank in an instant. Without thinking, I threw myself forward, shielding Brother Yu with my own body. Bang! A deafening gunshot rang out. It echoed through the narrow cave. The bullet grazed my shoulder as it flew by. A spray of blood erupted, and a searing pain instantly overwhelmed me. But I couldn't even feel the pain. I used my momentum to slam hard into Old Ghost Who. At the same time, I sank my teeth into the hand he was holding the gun with. Old Ghost Who let out a blood-curdling scream, and the pistol clattered to the ground once more. Brother Yu immediately rushed forward and slammed his foot into his chest. He kicked him hard to the ground and slapped handcuffs on him. Pinned to the ground, Old Ghost Who was still struggling like a madman. He was cursing non-stop. Zhang Yu. He Chang. Just you wait. The people I work for won't let you get away with this. Even if you arrest me, you'll never beat them. You'll all end up just like He Jianjun, sooner or later. Brother Yu looked at him coldly, his eyes perfectly calm. The people you work for. We won't let a single one of them get away. What you all owe Old He, what you owe this forest. We're going to collect on every last debt. Just then, police sirens echoed from outside the cave. Flashing red and blue lights illuminated all of Eagle Beak Cliff. The police had finally arrived. They stormed into the cave and dragged Old Ghost Who and all of his men away. Forensics and crime scene technicians also entered the cave and began to examine the scene. As they examined the bones, Brother Yu immediately knelt down beside me. He looked at the gunshot wound on my shoulder, his face deathly pale. His hands were trembling. Black Wind, how are you doing? Hang on, we're going back to the base right now. Old Wu is already waiting with the vet. I looked at his panicked face. I gently licked his hand and wagged my tail. I'm okay, Brother Yu. Don't worry. As long as you're safe, I'm okay. But sharp waves of pain kept hitting me, and my vision started to blur. My body went limp. Brother Yu immediately scooped me up in his arms. He ran like a madman out of the cave, sprinting towards the SUV. Tank and Chinky followed right behind us, letting out anxious whimpers. By the time I woke up again, 3 days had passed. I was lying on a bed in the base's infirmary, my shoulder wrapped in thick gauze. Brother Yu was slumped over the side of my bed, his eyes completely bloodshot. His chin was covered in stubble, he clearly hadn't slept for 3 days and nights. He'd been watching over me the entire time. When he saw I was awake, Brother Yu's eyes instantly welled up. He gently stroked my head. His voice was incredibly hoarse. Black Wind, you're finally awake. You scared me half to death. You really did. I lifted my head. I gently licked his hand and let out a low whine from my throat. As if to comfort him, old Wu came over too. He checked my wound and said with a smile, "This little guy is really tough. The bullet just grazed the bone. It didn't hit any vital spots. He'll be fine after a few months of rest." What a good dog with 9 lives. In the days that followed, Brother Yu stayed by my side every day, making me nutritious meals every time. Boiled beef, steamed eggs, stewed ribs. He'd switch it up to help me recover. Tank, Chinky, and the others would guard my sickroom door every day. They'd bring their share of dried meat to me. Even those 3 little puppies I rescued would run over on their little short legs every day and rub their small heads against my paws, whimpering in their little puppy voices. The days went by, one by one. My wound gradually healed, and good news came from the police. Based on old Ghost Hu's confession and the evidence found in the cave, they followed the clues and dismantled the cross-border smuggling and poaching ring that had been entrenched on the border for over 20 years. They arrested over 100 people involved and seized a large amount of smuggled cultural relics, wildlife products, and contraband. This criminal organization that harmed my father and countless others was finally eradicated completely. The day I heard this news, Brother Yu took me to my father's grave. He carefully placed the military dog tag in front of the tombstone. Then he gently placed the case verdict beside it. "Old He, do you see this? All the people who harmed you have been caught. They've received the punishment they deserve. I've avenged you. You can rest in peace now." Brother Yu's voice was choked with emotion. He gave a standard military salute to the tombstone. I lay down in front of it, looking at the photo of my father in his military uniform on the tombstone, as tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. "Dad, I'm sorry. I'm only just now learning the truth. But don't you worry. The people who hurt you, they've all been punished. I'll take good care of Mom for you. And I'll guard this forest that you protected with your life." The wind blew through the cemetery, rustling the fallen leaves on the ground, as if it were my father's gentle reply. I knew that the burden Brother Yu had carried in his heart for over 20 years was finally lifted, and the regret I had carried for 2 lifetimes was also finally resolved. After we returned from the cemetery, life returned to its usual peace. But things at the base were getting more and more lively. People from the provincial police base came again. This time, they brought an instructor from the National Border Narcotics Dog Team. They had heard about my heroic deeds and made a special trip. They wanted to invite me to join the narcotics dog team and carry out missions on the border. They said that with my intelligence and skills, I would surely become the most outstanding meritorious narcotics dog. Brother Yu left the choice to me. He petted my head and said, "Black Wind, no matter what you choose, I'll support you. If you want to go, I'll send you off. If you want to stay, I'll stay with you, and we'll guard this mountain together." Everyone at the base was looking at me, old Wu, Tank, Chinky, all of them. They were all quietly waiting for my decision. I looked at the instructor from the drug-sniffing dog unit. Then I turned to look at Brother Yu, and then at Tank and Chinky beside me. I looked at the base where I had lived for almost 2 years, and at the endless mountain forest in the distance. I took 2 steps forward and buried my head in Brother Yu's arms. Then I turned around and gently shook my head at the instructors. I took 2 steps back and stood firmly by Brother Yu's side. "I'm not going. This is my home. Brother Yu is my brother, my partner. This forest is the place my father gave his life to protect. I'm not going anywhere. I want to stay here and guard this place. And protect Brother Yu." The instructors were stunned for a moment. Then, they all smiled. The lead instructor walked over. He gently patted my head, his eyes full of admiration. "Well done, Hefeng. No matter where you are, you will always be the most outstanding service dog in our hearts. If the border ever needs you in the future, you're always welcome to come and help." After they left, the base erupted with excitement. The villagers from all the surrounding areas heard about it and came running to see me. They brought me lots of treats and said I was a good dog, full of loyalty and honor. They called me the guardian spirit of this forest, and the village even specially donated new equipment to our farm protection team. We got new field equipment, a new off-road vehicle, and lots of dog food and jerky. More and more people learned how excellent Chinese rural dogs are, and many of them voluntarily joined the farm protection team. Many others adopted stray Chinese rural dogs, giving them warm and loving homes. Our farm protection team grew bigger and stronger. The Chinese rural dogs we had rescued before, after being trained, all became excellent farm protection dogs and joined our ranks. Tank became the head instructor of the team. He trained the new dogs every day. Jinky became the captain of the reconnaissance unit. Every time we went into the mountains, he would lead the way with 2 Taikang hounds at the very front. And as for me, I became the dog king of this farm protection team. Whenever we entered the mountains, all it took was a single command from me, and all the dogs would spring into action. They never made a single mistake. The days passed by just like that, peaceful, stable, and warm. In the blink of an eye, it was the end of the year, and heavy snow began to fall in the mountains again. The entire landscape was draped in a blanket of white. Back at the base, Brother Yu celebrated my 2nd birthday with me. He made me a huge beefcake with 2 candles on top. Everyone at the base, people and dogs alike, was there. They all gathered around me and sang the birthday song. Tank, Shinky, and the others brought out the bones and jerky they had hidden away, piling them all in front of me as birthday gifts. Brother Yu crouched in front of me and put a new dog tag on me. On the front of the tag, the 4 large characters for Hefeng, the Dog King, were engraved. On the back, it read, partner to Zhang Yu, son of the farm protection team's decorated hero, He Jianjun. I looked at the dog tag, and tears welled up in my eyes again. I nuzzled my head against Brother Yu's hand, then against the new dog tag. In this life, I would have no more regrets. After my birthday, the new year arrived. On New Year's Eve, Yu Jie took me back to the city. We went to my mother's house. In my past life, after I was gone, my mother lived all alone. After I became a dog, I never dared to go see her. I was afraid she wouldn't recognize me, and afraid that seeing me like this now would break her heart, but Yu Jie had already contacted my mother. He told her everything, including my reincarnation, including everything I had done these past 2 years. When I followed Yu Jie into the house, my mother was sitting on the sofa. The moment she saw me come in, her eyes instantly turned red. She reached out a trembling hand and softly called out, "Chang Chang." I froze on the spot, my whole body shaking, tears streaming down my face uncontrollably. I carefully took 2 steps forward and gently nuzzled her hand with my head. A wronged whimper escaped my throat. "Mom, I'm back." My mother threw her arms around me and burst into tears. She stroked my head over and over again, murmuring, "My Chang Chang, mommy finally gets to see you. As long as you're okay, as long as you're okay." That night, we had New Year's Eve dinner together. Mother put a lot of my favorite dishes from my past life on my plate. Yu Jie and my mother chatted, talking about my father's past and about my experiences over the last 2 years. The room was warm and cozy. Outside the window, fireworks exploded, lighting up the entire night sky. I lay at my mother's feet, looking at everything before me, feeling an unprecedented sense of peace in my heart. After 2 lifetimes of wandering, I was finally home. After the new year, we returned to the base. The snow in the mountains gradually melted. Spring came again. The mountains and plains were once again covered in wildflowers. We still went into the mountains to patrol every day, working from sunrise to sunset. Life was simple and happy. For all the years to come, I will accompany